And here
That's
we are,
also
kids. Hi, everybody. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? We have Purple with us. Oh, look, and there's Dave. Hi, Dave. Yay! And we have the Bad Tempered Badger. And we
Hello.
have the one, the only, the brilliant, the beautiful Kate Farr, Bionic Dance. Oh,
Someday I
my.
have to do the several and only. But that's just me. I'll be over here.
How is everybody?
Oh, very well, thank you.
I'm
Yes,
sending you a message.
definitely
Purple.
been worse.
Okay, well, you having been worse at some time is, yeah, one of those things that one wishes would not happen, but at least you are not worse at this point. That is a
It's
good
true.
thing. And yeah, David Badger, we were talking earlier about the possibility one of these days and nights and whatever of talking about firearms and the whole open carry thing and all that stuff. So, gonna bring that up at one point or another.
I'm just sending you a
Personally,
message, Purple, about how to do the split cam.
I try to avoid being immolated, arms or otherwise. So, firearms are not an interest of mine.
Right, which is why, yeah, we're not going to bring this on this morning or
I've
this
seen you
afternoon
like
or whatever the hell it is, but
I've seen you like the laser guns, though.
Okay, clearly, joke. Clearly, just
I got it. I got it. I got it.
I got you. I just wanted to pew pew.
Actually,
Well-
I had that happen to me once where I had a bunch of alcohol spill on my hand and it ignited. It wasn't quite the whole firearm thing, but it was okay. Let's drop and roll here, guys. Take care of that really quickly.
I've never had the occasion to actually be on fire, even though I'm smoking. So,
Yeah, you are. But
I think the worst I've had was dropping liquid tar on my leg.
ooh,
ow.
ow, ow.
I don't think I've ever removed my trousers so quickly.
At least there were
That's a
trousers
sad
between
state
you
of
and that
affairs.
stuff.
There should have been better times to drop your trousers more quickly than that.
Very much so.
I've been mildly on fire, but nothing too serious.
Mildly on Fire is the name of my band's new album.
I can't
You've
wait.
just got a little bit of fire on you, but it's not something that needs immediate attention,
I had an interesting experience with flashpoints as a teenager. When I couldn't find any lighter fluid, I decided I'd try to use some kerosene to light a charcoal grill. And it wasn't one of the open ones, it was one of the square box ones with the front open. So the flame just jumped out the front, and I had no eyebrows for a few weeks.
Now, I've had some experience with flashpoints too, but that was more that variety. So,
Yeah, the one thing I had.
People don't tend to run away from that one.
The one thing I had that did involve
Oh,
arms
depends.
was when I was lighting a friend's oven. It was being a little recalcitrant about lighting up, and by the time it finally did light, the entire chamber was full of methane. Full of natural gas, and you get that pilot light lit and boom. Right out. No hair on my arms for quite a while. Yeah.
But the interesting thing people don't usually realize is that hair doesn't actually burn, it melts,
It melts.
plastic.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I did accidentally explode my bedroom once.
Well, I will say that on one of those days where I was a little weirder than usual, I cleaned a hairbrush, put the hair in the ashtray because I was a smoker at the time, and I was thinking, okay, let's light it, see what happens. And there was actually something that supported a flame for a while, but as you say, most of what happened was it was melting like a plastic.
The
And
smell.
Would it,
Oh.
would it burn
Yeah.
after it's melted?
say again.
Would hair burn after the melting point?
This
Probably
stuff did
not.
not.
Hmm.
It melted into a sort of black lump with the
Ah.
strong aroma of nitrogenous compounds on fire.
Outstanding.
Never like stop and wonder what the smell of a witch burning was like?
Oh dear.
Mm.
The question is, what was the smell before the witch burning?
Probably just wood, and unless she shat herself, not much
That's
else.
the thing I'm thinking right there.
It could be a nice pine aroma if they were using pine.
I suppose that's possible. I don't know. It's actually something I'd never thought about until just this moment when we're talking about hair. I'm like,
But I think the hair would go so quickly. I think I imagine it would smell more like a pig roast.
probably.
That's,
Wow, I came up with like
that
a
is a
topic
real way to
there.
put me off.
Yay.
Well,
There's a
they
real way to
had
put
to
me
make
off
sure
going
the
into
fire
a
was
spit
hot
roast.
enough first.
I mean, we're all atheists. We should know what at least babies taste like. So what they smell like roasting and a roast suckling toddler,
I
we
much
should know this.
Hmm.
I much
As
prefer.
after you.
Oh, I much prefer the aroma of roasting baby to the aroma of baby who desperately needs to be changed.
That's a good
I'm
point.
with you. I'm with you.
I'm a
I
big
mean,
fan
that's
of
the
the.
best thing about babies is like none of them will ever be mine, so I can give them back to their parents when they drop a deuce.
That is a good point. Are you aware of the whole underground oven idea? Where you dig a hole, put the thing you want cooked carefully wrapped, along with hot stones from the fire, and you bury them. That's how I prefer mine.
Oh, Sloth Girl's here! Yay!
Oh, there she is.
Yay! 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 Yay!
I was beginning to wonder if she hadn't gotten the link.
No, I got it. Just took me a minute.
Takes me a minute for most things.
Although, as far as the thing about burning witches, from my understanding, that was where they came to referring to gays as fags.
Huh.
As in England, a fag is a small bundle of kindling.
Yeah.
Like a cigarette.
It's also
And
a
the-
cigarette and
Yep.
a type of meatball.
Well, the legend
didn't know
I
they
had heard
called
it was that when they were burning witches, to make sure it was hot enough to kill them immediately so they couldn't utter a curse, they would test the fire by throwing sexual deviants on first.
So I'm sure Dave can confirm this for me. Just nip down the shop, get a box of faggots, and that's that'd be good for dinner.
Yeah, I think the ciggy's the worst when I smoked. You'd be sat in a uni bar and you go,
Oh,
I need to
dear.
pop outside for a fag.
Oh man.
Someone I knew.
For dinner.
Someone I knew went to America for a little while and got in the shit slightly because of saying in a bar, is there anywhere I could go roll a fag?
Oh my.
And the locals kind of went, you fucking what? Oh, a cigarette.
Well, going to German again. I had a German teacher in high school who was really cool, who would teach you all the idioms and the dialects and that sort of thing. And he told a story about when he was stationed in a small town in Germany while he was in the army during the Korean period. Happened to be in a pub with a bunch of friends, and he wanted to indicate to a couple of the newer friends that he liked this particular friend. And he said,
yeah.
wanted to say, I like this guy. So he said, Ich hab ihn gern. And all heads turned in his direction. Because what he had said was, I have a romantic interest in him.
Nah,
That was the dialect. So yeah, you got to watch what you're saying, and where you're saying it, because that might have gone well in Berlin, but not where he was.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of like differences in the way Americans say things and the way Brits say things. And the one that for some reason gets under my skin, this is a trolley, not a shopping cart.
That's not a trolley, that's a tram.
It's a trolley. And actually,
Buggy.
there's a couple others that get under my skin, but that one drives me up the wall.
I've got you under my skin.
Actually, a background project of mine has been constructing a British-American lexicon.
Well, that's a good idea.
I've been developing it under the working title of what is a lorry and how did you get hit by one in the zebra crossing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, actually, one that I think bugs me even more than the trolley thing. Torch. A torch is like a stick that's on fire providing light.
Yeah.
A flashlight, on the other hand, is an electronic device.
But I don't flash the torch, I leave it turned on.
Anna.
Well, the problem is that you can't actually buy a flashlight anymore. You can buy an electric handheld light. They were called a flashlight because they had a little button you could press to do Morse code with them.
Yeah. I actually had one of those years and years and years and years ago, made by Eveready.
Yep. Those were the standard issue Boy Scout flashlights.
Yeah, the whole thing was.
Never ready.
Yeah, it was
Right. I've got it. 1 second.
It was an easily carried Aldous lamp, basically.
Well,
until
still,
There we go.
point being
There we
that it's still not a torch.
I'm switching locations.
Torches are what you have in like medieval times when again you want to burn witches.
The torch is the pitchforks.
Okay, you
Yeah,
were
Sloth Girl, you're rather
cutting in and
breaking
out
up.
like you wouldn't believe, Sloth Girl. I
Yeah,
caught
you're-
some of that.
So, I don't
Yeah,
know, why
very
don't we
good.
get to calling them Lichtwerfenapparat? That would really work.
Because nobody speaks like that. This weird moon man language of yours.
Yeah. If you're getting the lightsaber, I'm moving to down to E.
What are you carrying?
This is actually a pretty pathetic lightsaber. They just call it a stunt saber. It has no bells and whistles, no frills. It's just a glorified flashlight with a tube on the end of it.
Oh, so it's a torch with a tube.
Isn't
No,
that
it's not.
okay? Is this an actual thing, or is this just a little bit of an urban legend? Weren't the original lightsabers pretty much what you're holding? A flashlight with a tube on it?
Well, originally, no, actually.
No, okay.
When they first
rotating
tried designing a lightsaber, they actually it was like a tube that had this sort of spinning mirror thing on it that was supposed to catch light and make it like glow, and it did not work. It really.
That's why whenever they're pointed at the camera, they look like they're going out. Oh, what's happened to me?
Double the stuff.
Right,
Right,
Okay,
like
we've
I
got
said,
some stuff
it's a
going here.
glorified flashlight, and if you just like click it a little bit, you can, oonce, 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 turn yourself into a club,
I thought you were just trying to induce epilepsy in the audience.
Yeah, that's always a good thing.
I wouldn't do that to anybody. I know what epilepsy is like all too well, and I would not inflict that on anybody.
You're doing pretty well
Are you
with that
telling
so
me
far,
that
Kate?
you have experience with epilepsy?
You didn't know?
Yeah, I'm
I did.
sorry.
I'm having a craze.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so now you're doing the whole motorcycle thing, so I guess the epilepsy thing is well behind you, right?
Well, sort of. I mean, I admit I'm jumping the gun a little on taking the motorcycle safety class because it's not until Tuesday that I actually have my 6 month, well, actually closer to a year now, follow up with my neurologist. But he'll probably clear me for driving on Tuesday. So there's that.
Yay!
But I'm really, really close to getting an actual vehicle because, damn it, San Diego is not a walkable town. And I have to say, I get it now. Like all my friends who ride, we're always talking about how awesome it is. And I was like, but it's just a motorcycle. And then I get out onto the course and I'm like, oh, now I get it. Now I understand why you guys love this shit so much. So yeah, I'm looking forward to having a bike of my own.
Got a place to keep it, or do you not have
Yes.
to worry about? You do. Okay, great.
I do. Well, see, the thing is, I hate to do it, but I've been renting out my parking space to somebody because my condo came with a parking space. Parking is really hard to find in this stupid town. And it like, hundreds upon hundreds of dollars just to park a vehicle somewhere. And so I'm charging him $100 a month to park in my spot. I'm going to have to kick him out so I can actually get my bike.
Okay then. And I take it that the loss of $100 against the gain of the bike is one of those things that's definitely well worth it.
Well, given how
you
much
could
less
kind
I'll
of
be
wedge-
spending on Lyft and Uber, yes.
You could kind of wedge the bike down the side of the thing.
No.
Put it in front of it.
It's too big. Too big.
What
Space
size
is-
bike are you getting there?
Well, I'm actually probably not getting an actual motorcycle. I'm going to get a scooter that might as well be a motorcycle. See, the thing is, I'm crap with a clutch,
So a
right?
scooter, a
And
little
so I
thing
need like an automatic transmission, and scooters have those, and they have highway capable scooters. So I'm looking at probably either a Honda Silverwing or a Honda Reflex.
Okay, so
Okay,
no.
obviously in California, what
Wing
they
or
define,
gold
what they
wing?
define as a scooter is something different.
Too many people at once. What?
Obviously, what California defines as a scooter is something rather different than what they define as one in the Midwest.
Well,
Because
there's
in
so
every
many
state
different-
I've lived in, what they define as a scooter specifically states that it cannot go on the interstate.
Well, I mean, okay, I guess there's probably like legal definitions, and then there's like the vernacular of those who ride.
I gotta stop breaking hangouts.
Well, there is a difference in dialects between the countries, but Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin all define a scooter as having an engine of less than 50 cc's.
Oh, ye
Yeah,
gods, no.
I was gonna say it's based on the CC of the bike, whether it's allowed on the freeway or not.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because with an engine that size, they have a top speed of like 35 miles an hour.
Yeah, the Honda Silverwing and the Honda Reflex, they can hit like 80 if they have to.
Okay, but you're not going to be getting one of those World War II BMW motorcycles with a sidecar?
Don't be silly.
I'd love one of those.
I want to.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. The Honda Reflex looks about like that. So that's what I'm looking at getting. It's pretty big. It has a lot of storage space, but it handles better than some of the smaller scooters that are out there. And also, it looks kind of cool. I mean,
Yeah, it does actually.
a friend of mine was telling me that I would not be happy on a bike that didn't look like if it was in a Japanese cartoon, it couldn't turn into a robot. It has to look like it could turn into a robot. And I was like, yeah, that's me. So my thing right now is I'm actually looking at helmets. Because helmets are a hell of an investment. The way they put it in the class was how much you want to spend depends on how much you value your head. And I value my head a fair bit. So I'm
You got
looking.
all that work done on it.
Yeah, you got a $300,000 head going over there.
You can get the mantis one that Simone's just made.
Oh, I don't know that one.
I was just gonna say, I've considered getting a little bike or something, but the problem is I'm a bit how do I share my screen? I'm a bit funny about aesthetics. I like things to be a little particular. How do I share my screen? Where's the button? Ah. So I'd want something a little bit like this. Is it sharing?
No, it's not sharing.
Oh.
Don't worry, I can't get Google to Hangouts to do my pictures either.
Ow. Let me see if I can do it through this 1 second. We'll be right back.
I wouldn't have thought it. Well, like, okay, when we go to the course, they realize that most of us aren't even 100% certain we want to ride. And so they provided a bunch of the gear, like the helmets. And I wouldn't have thought it. But for some reason, I thought that the bright-ass pink helmet worked on me. So, yeah.
I would not.
There we go. That's the
I would
thing
not see you with a
talking
pink
about.
helmet, but if it works for you, hell.
Well,
See,
I
I'd
mean,
want something like that.
wouldn't. Well, that was my whole thing. Is I didn't picture it either, but it worked.
Okay then.
See, that's what I'd be talking about. Something like that.
That
There
feels
you
like
go.
a machine gun on the
Old
front.
school.
Yeah,
That's a
I'd be
good
more
stuff.
along the line of what Badger's got there.
Like, I'm not 100% for certain. I don't think it's exact, but the helmet that I was looking at was very similar to this right here. That's the one that I was wearing. Very similar anyway. And I was like, for some reason this totally works on me. You wouldn't think it. I'm not pink, people. That's just not my usual thing. But
Yeah, you
I
could
liked
make it work though.
Yeah. And I also need to find a good riding jacket because the ones I've got have issues.
There we go. That'll be perfect for me.
All right.
Now, that's what I'm talking about. You've got the nice shape going on, nice leather riding bag, and a nice holster for your rifle on the front.
Yoo-hoo!
That would be a
Well, more
Springfield,
power
right?
to you. I don't want one of those. You can have my World War II motorcycle. That's up to you.
Hey, it'll be great during the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
I prefer a 4x4 in the zombie apocalypse.
How about, Dave, you come in your 4x4, we'll put my bike on the back, and then you can drive me around. And then once the fuel runs out in yours, then you get on mine.
That works.
And then
Man, there's
Yeah, that's always been my question about these apocalypse movies is like, if it's been 20 years since civilization fell apart, where are they still finding gasoline?
Well,
Well,
that
I
was
make it.
part of the plot of the Road Warrior was they had a refinery. Like that was the thing is they were refining gas and the bad guys wanted it. That was like the whole plot of the Road Warrior.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
Well,
that complicated to refine it yourself. I mean, it's complicated to do it on scale, but
Yeah.
to do it to run a couple of vehicles to do stuff is not.
Well,
not
the part I always
Biofuel.
wondered about, it's way after the apocalypse, and yet every guy seems to be clean shaven.
Yeah.
oh, they're
You
doing
know,
like
I mean, if 99% of the population is wiped out, I reckon there are enough razors for the next 1,000 years.
Well, okay,
But if
okay.
not,
But
they could do it.
there's one other part that kind of disturbs me, and they never bring it up. Is I'm pretty sure that the world is at that point out of tampons. So what do you do?
Mhm.
Well, again, it's the patriarchy. No one cares.
Still,
Well, I was going to say for the shaving, they could do
technical
it.
detail of post-apocalypse stories that has bugged me for a while.
Also, that would attract the zombies.
Mm.
Yeah, well, Kate, women did survive without tampons for thousands of years.
Yeah, yeah, but I've
will-
never looked up how they did that either.
I was going to say that for the shaving
Right.
thing, they could do the shaving thing Riddick style, like with some engine oil, engine grease, and a sharpened bit of Starship hull.
Well, there is a
can't-
reason that the whole thing about filthy rags in the Bible is such a strong statement.
Yes,
Hmm.
because a woman was unclean because she was menstruating.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I can't tell you how they did it. I do know that there is a scheme at the moment in Africa teaching people how to make tampons out of something that they've
Now,
got around.
Flannel.
Oh, out of something. That's good to know.
I can't
Well,
remember. They bind it and they make one, and it's one of these things that's considered vaguely life-saving because they've got nothing at the moment.
Yeah, I have.
This sounds messy. I'm going back to my burrow.
You know,
Okay,
who were in
then.
such an economic situation they couldn't afford to buy them, and they would just like empty out the paper towel dispensers in public bathrooms and somehow manage with those.
Mm-hmm.
Twist their own.
Now, okay,
And
if we can...
that's a big problem in African countries, is because when a woman is on her period, she's considered unclean, and they don't allow girls in school when they're on their periods if they don't have some kind of
Right, yeah.
sanitary
Uh-huh.
sanitary products. So it's a big thing if you find any place that needs sanitary products to send to Africa. There's actually patterns online you can buy where you can make reusable pads for them, where they can use them and wash them out and reuse them.
Technically, I probably shouldn't tell you that, actually.
Well, go on, just in case. We'll decide.
Technically, we're still using the nappies from when I was a child.
Now here...
Why are you still using nappies?
Not for their original purpose.
Oh, they make great for car washing.
Yeah, we're using them to make jam.
Oh, as a filter.
Yeah. Only been washing them for a few
Okay.
decades.
It's actually bad true though. Let me correct you. If you're filtering them, it is jelly because jam must have pieces. Jelly does not have any pieces at all.
Jelly has nothing
we,
to do with jam.
we call it jelly jam
Why?
because I'm British and pedantic.
It's just jam.
Are you or
Yeah.
are you not, Mr. Critical, a pedantic person?
Now, if you're going to be
else would-
pedantic, it is technically just jelly.
Because
Fluff.
because
Who else?
Disgusting. I mean, I have never been able to eat jelly or jam. I've always found it nasty in some fashion, like seriously gross. Like
Seriously,
sort of-
guys, in Britain there, who else would eat clotted cream?
Nobody.
I'm not even sure what clotted cream is. I've heard it mentioned,
what is
but
this
I've
complaint about clotted cream? It's the best cream about.
Who the
If you
hell
spit-
would eat something called clotted
If you-
cream?
if you can't get your cream and put the spoon in it and the spoon stays exactly where you put it, you don't even have cream.
But what
We call that
exactly is
here.
what no it's but before we go any further, what exactly is clotted cream?
It's like
It's-
sour
it's-
cream.
It's no, it's thicker than sour cream. It's cream. It's very thick. And
Is it-
it,
Is
It
it
has
Almost
kind of
the
a-
butter consistency.
is
yes,
it used
yes,
for
it's,
dessert?
it's almost butter. Is it used
It's
for sir?
almost butter.
Well, I mean, like what kind of food is it? Is it dessert? Is it dinner? What is it?
Oh, it would
It's a
go on.
spread.
Yeah, it would
They
go
put it
on.
on scones.
It would go on scones. Yeah,
Okay, that doesn't really answer my question.
it's
It's
more
like
more
a
of
butter cake.
yeah,
What?
it's more of a, it's more for sweet things.
Okay, so yes, it's kind of desserty then.
Yeah, but if you
Okay.
you also put it on Christmas pudding. But the thing with
Which
clotted
actually has
cream
no
is,
pudding in it.
no, that's true. But
I don't know.
with,
It seems like in Britain, you guys have some wacky ass foods that we don't have
the thing-
here.
the thing
And,
with
and
coffee
Britain-
cream-
every time I hear someone mention it in like a British show or movie, I'm like, show me this food. I want to know what it is because you don't show it. You just talk about it. What the frick
See,
is it?
The thing
Well-
with clotted cream on scones is you have to be very careful where in the country you have your clotted cream on scones, and then which way round you put on the jam and the cream. Because if you do it backwards in the wrong region, then you're fucked. Yeah. You
And
will
then
run out of
the
town with
leftovers.
You're already
pitchforks.
killed up here for calling it scones. So
Yes.
Oh my!
At least he didn't call you
See,
English.
if I go across the border into a different county, if I go across the border into a different county, I have to say scones, because otherwise, again, you'll be run out of the town with pitchforks.
I call them
That's
scones,
crazy.
and I'm in America, and I say scones.
Yeah, well, it depends
Now, Kate, what-
which part of the country you're in.
Now, Kate, what you have to understand in the British Isles, anything that is considered dessert is pudding.
Yes,
Yes.
no, I know that. I know that
you
part.
know, but we
but
do have puddings that aren't dessert.
it
I was
doesn't
gonna-
change anything. I mean, because like still when people talk about various foods, they don't describe what they are, and it's like taken
Technically.
for granted that you know.
Well,
What do you
here's
think
the thing,
pudding
though. The
Technically,
Puddings
Dave,
are custards.
not
Technically, Dave,
necessarily.
we have puddings that aren't desserts because we have suet pudding with.
Yeah, there's the
ground
whole
beef in it.
thing. I mean, black pudding. At
Wait,
least once in
Oh,
your
black
life.
pudding.
Suet pudding?
Say again.
Hold on.
Suet pudding? I mean, suet is something we cram in bird feeders. It's not something humans eat.
Well, you're not in
Is
the
it-
right
is it-
neighborhood. That's all.
Isn't there like a kind of black pudding that's actually an explosive?
Probably.
Maybe,
I
maybe,
swear
maybe.
there's, like,
I'm sure the
black pudding.
Americans would know about that.
Black-
Yeah,
Well, they also consider spotted dick to be something that people will eat after they kill.
yeah.
It's
They're
a
covering
type
up
of
the
cake.
Wait, right. You've never had spotted
Spotted
dick?
dick is a type of cake.
Are you telling me you've never had spotted dick?
okay, this answers my. I definitely got to resurrect my cooking
Okay.
show and do all the foods that have these wonderful names. Yeah.
Oh yeah, all the British puddings.
Make spotted dick, I want to see it.
Truth about it. Well, I'm not
Like the
completely
Banbury
opposed-
cake.
Well, I'm not completely opposed to a dick in my mouth. If I found one with spots on it, I would be far more hesitant.
That's the only reason we still eat spotted dick. Nobody actually likes it. We just think the name's
You just have to be able to go and say, yeah, I had a spotted dick today.
Oh, okay. So it's like lutefisk.
So digging around for motorcycle jackets, because I could totally see me in that right there. You think?
Conversation. All the Brits
Oh, yeah.
I think that's pretty me right there.
Okay, yeah, that
Yeah.
would work for you.
I agree. That
That
looks
would
good.
work for Kate.
So anyway, I mean, because we were talking about that earlier, and I got caught up after helmets browsing for jackets, and well,
You're not going to
Yeah.
do the.
you know what? While all of you people were talking, I was doing important.
Somebody,
Yeah, there you
somebody
go.
make the Brits shut up about spotted dick, please.
You're not going to do the flight suit sort of thing that you have Sandra wearing in the animations.
Oh, I'm not looking for a onesie. No matter how motorcycly it is, I'm not gonna wear a onesie.
I have a onesie.
Yeah, is it furry?
How nerdy. What are the spots in spotted dick?
Raisins,
Are
aren't
they currants?
Ugh, raisins are so gross. Raisins
that's
are
why
gross. They're exactly the
That's
same
why none of
reason
us-
and jelly are gross.
That's why
It's-
none of us
it's
actually like
sludge.
spotted dick.
I don't know.
None of you like spotted dick, huh?
Let me try. I may actually like it. I mean, it might be the first dick that I actually liked. Oh, but
Oh,
my.
no, I haven't had dick in a while.
Try spotted.
I can't spot any dick around here.
Sorry, Kate. I know you tried to get it off that subject, but
Alright, I'll move on to something else.
The
What
wonderful
about
thing, though.
Banbury cake?
Who?
About what?
Banbury cake. Battenberg cake?
Oh,
Battenberg.
horrible, horrible.
Battenberg.
No one here likes that.
Alright, 1 second.
Wait a minute. This one I don't know. I have to look this one up.
Don't
Okay,
worry,
hey.
I'm finding it.
I don't know why, but it seems to me that if you're going to have a motorcycle helmet, you should at least screw horns onto it.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Antenna.
Antenna. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, along those lines, I am planning on getting like a Bluetooth rig for it. I mean, I know a lot of people say don't listen to tunes, but most of what I want is like directions, Google
Yeah.
Maps. That
Yeah.
Why
kind
do you
of.
not want to listen to tunes?
Well, because there's
Not
going
when
to be
you're
cars
driving.
around you, and
I always
they
listen to
are not
tunes when I'm
very
driving.
aware of your presence when you're on a motorbike, and it helps if you're aware of theirs. And being able to hear their engines near you is a good thing.
It's actually illegal to wear headphones while you're driving.
Well, I mean, it's
Well,
Right.
it
not.
depends on where you are and what you're wearing, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure that would vary state by state.
Because
There we go.
I'm
Battenberg.
thinking, unless they've changed the rules, and they may have, because I haven't spent any time in Ohio in 31 years. You used to be able to wear what I call flight director headphones that had the one earpiece
Yeah.
and then the mic, and then leaving the other ear open so you could hear the other guys in the moker calling
Right,
out really
right.
weird shit.
There we go. Battenberg. That's what I'm talking about.
Ooh,
Wait a
yummy.
minute. Wait a minute. Let me have the look at this. I need to look at this. Oh my! Oh my! Oh my!
Cloth girl loves the mug.
Describe what?
Alright.
Okay, describe what constitutes that thing on that plate.
Alright, so here's what we have. The mug, I will get to in a minute. The cake on the plate is known as Battenberg. This is a 4-section cake with 2 sections of one colour and 2 sections of another colour in a checker pattern. On the outside is marzipan, which is an almond-flavoured sugary treat.
Almond paste.
Yeah, it's almonds but with sugar.
And what's inside?
So it's sponge cake.
Sponge
Oh.
cake and jam.
There's a little bit of jam to hold the marzipan on.
Right.
Ugh, jam. I can't eat jam for the same reason I can't eat fig Newtons. Or raisins or anything
Ew.
that's like
Jams.
they got that nasty, cloying, sticky, sweet thing going on.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Jam is not really a major feature of Battenberg. It's there purely as a binding agent to keep the marzipan.
Right. To holds the
Well,
layers
I'm
together.
sure you
Jam
can
doesn't
eat
matter.
marshmallow.
So sweet.
Now, you see, the thing, and also the mug. You were mentioning the mug there, Sloth Girl, is as I'm sure you've noticed, a sloth mug. It was given to me by some lesbian friends of mine right after I got home from their wedding.
Ah,
See,
Let's
when I
have the
see
mug.
that mug, if I didn't have any context, I would say that's a panda.
No, that's a sloth.
Well, I'm saying if I saw it cold and just looked at it and someone said, "What is that?" my first reaction would be panda.
I can see how you
Pandas are
would
not
stand
brown.
out of it if you didn't realize that the brown around it was fur.
Yeah,
Now,
Is
pandas
that
are
what
okay.
that
brown.
is? I thought it was supposed to be like a tree stump.
here's
I
the
do
thing,
have
though.
another mug
And pandas don't live in
next
trees.
to Battenberg.
That's the way you would.
Let me-
That's the way you
They
would.
live
just
near
find this.
trees.
That's the way you would describe it under those circumstances. But how would you describe it had it been in the oven for a while?
Hot.
Oh,
Okay.
don't do that to Diana, Kate.
What? If something was in an oven for a while, assuming the oven
Yeah.
was
So
on,
if you describe that cold, then how would you describe it hot? I
It
know.
would be-
I'm never going to be as good at this as you are, but I'm trying. Really, I am.
it would be extremely warm, excessively warm, warm to the point of I don't want to touch that.
I also have this mug, which is a demonstration that Battenberg also comes in smaller varieties.
They look like Twinkies.
They do. That was my first thought as well.
They look like strawberry vanilla Twinkies.
A marzipan covered Twinkie. That's a waste of good marzipan. You understand that?
That's a waste of a good Twinkie.
You see, I have had the Twinkies, but I recently, not recently, I some time ago discovered that there is a British rip-off of the Twinkie available in all the best discount shops. And it's basically a Twinkie but made to British cake sponge standards.
Ooh.
Because we can't have the same ingredients for making things as they do in America because they come under different classifications.
We've got to have real food in our food.
Yeah. So Twinkies I found were much lighter, whereas these British rip-offs of Twinkies were they were very thick and spongy, and
American Twinkies are all air.
Okay, there we go. So you're talking about Twinkies. How many of you have seen Seth Andrews' post from a couple of days ago?
I don't think I have.
Okay, involving, as soon as I can get it on here, as soon as I can remember how the hell to do this. There we go. Alrighty, we'll go to the application window and we will do that. Yeah, involving this lovely thing over here.
Oh, I've lost the chat. Where's it go?
That's
So
hard. Like, I mean, that's the sort of thing where I want to try it once, and that's all I want to do with it.
What is it?
It's an orange cream pop
Orange
Twinkie.
cream pop Twinkies.
I've never been a big fan of orange in my sweet things.
Okay, you're dead to me.
Oh, I was going to email you about that thing.
Do you like the orange matchmakers?
Orange what now?
Matchmakers.
Actually, no. Thinking about it, Jaffa cakes are okay.
You know, I keep hearing about those. They mentioned them in some British show I was watching. I don't know what the frick they are.
What was that again?
Jaffa cakes.
Jaffa cakes.
Hang on a minute.
Right there. This way up, are we? Nope, that way. Jaffa cakes.
Okay, but what are
What have you
they?
got some?
Oh, yeah.
What
They're
on
like
earth?
cakey things. They're little things.
Hold it up so that it's in the middle of the camera so we can actually see the bloody thing.
You know, I just see a focus on it.
Oh, they kind of look like.
I'll just wait.
Show them the inside.
What's going on in there? I can't
They
quite see
say
it.
things you can't see
They
it.
look
Yeah, do you want me
delicious.
to? Oh, I was gonna share that.
What is it?
All right. Yeah, another one.
Okay, so someone actually describe
It's a
it.
biscuit.
No,
Thank
cake.
you so much.
It's
What
a
is
cake,
it?
not a biscuit.
I want details.
Yeah, it's not actually made
Is
of
it a
biscuit. It's
sponge?
made of
Go on.
cake. It's spongy.
It is
Make
a
it bigger.
sponge. Okay.
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 So no one's really
Okay.
Spongy with a
Uh,
vanilla
I'm
cream.
gonna just find a British store and buy some.
What is that? What we
Sponge
might
with
call a
vanilla
Boston
cream and
cream
chocolate.
over
All right
here.
then. All right. Okay. I got something for you.
Is it vanilla cream and chocolate icing?
You like a bit of the sci-fi, don't you?
This is going in the highlight reel. You know that.
You like a bit of the science fiction.
A little bit.
Here you go.
Oh.
Here's something for you.
Aw. You are so fired.
No, you need a Java cake.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me bring that on. Here we go. Oh, for the love of Saint Kulik.
It's Tilk's
Java
Jaffa
cake.
cake.
Yeah, yeah.
Java cake.
It's
Must be with
This is
I didn't
definitely
even know
going in the
what
highlight
Jaffa
reel.
orange is. I don't know what a Jaffa orange is. How do you pronounce it? Genoese? Genoese.
Genovese.
Genoese? I don't know. Sponge
Genovese.
base, a layer of orange-flavored jam, and a coating of chocolate. Well, jam. We'll
Ooh,
skip
yum.
that. Ew, jam. Gross.
Yeah,
Yum.
that sounds like something I'd like.
And now that is now, Badger, is it jam or is it marmalade?
Well, that
Does it
that would
matter?
depend.
Orange
It's
inside, is it?
disgusting.
Oh
Is it more of a
my.
Jam and
marmalade or is
marmalade.
it jam?
Jam and marmalade are very similar concepts, but Personally, I've always associated marmalade with being orangey and jam with being ready. But
Yeah, that is the one
Right.
thing I
The
never
marmalade has
understood.
the rind in it.
But jam is purple too.
Yeah. Yeah, marmalade has pieces of the rind, so I think the marmalade pretty much always has to be a citrus.
And it makes it bitter.
wait, purple, you're purple, you're jam.
And now that song's in my head. Thank you so much.
What song?
Pump up the jam. Pump it up that one. I hate that song
I've
so
got
much.
an excellent electro swing version of that one.
I don't know. I've been particularly susceptible to earworms lately. I don't know what it is.
Hey,
It
Trio.
kind of started actually with the whole thing with the Never Ending Story theme song after Stranger Things season 3 came out. And after that, it's just song after song after song after song in my head, and I can't stop it, and it's driving me mad. But you know, it's okay.
Okay. Now I found something over here, and I hope it'll help us out here. It's a little article from Chowhound. They're both delicious when you spread them on toast, but what is the real difference between jam and marmalade? Jam is made from fruit solidified with pectin, and sugar is added for sweetness. Jam is great for fillings and retains the fruit pulp, which contributes to its thick consistency. Making peanut butter and jelly? Often you are making peanut butter and jam. Jelly is somewhat thinner, made from fruit juice instead of whole fruit. Marmalade, on the other hand, is most often made from citrus fruits, as has been mentioned, and is made by boiling the juice of the fruit along with the peel, also known as the rind, in sugar and water. Marmalade is most often made with oranges, but can be made with any combination of citrus fruits. Think grapefruit, lemon, lime, and occasionally
Lemon
you can
lime.
bend the rules a little and make a savory marmalade with ingredients like onion, shallots. I may have to try that.
Yeah, onion
chutney?
marmalade
The
is
inclusion of fruit
amazing.
peel can add a bitter tang that many marmalade lovers enjoy. Yeah, and
Wouldn't that be chutney?
oh
Onion
my,
jam is amazing.
I'm thinking. Now wait a minute. I'm thinking that chutney is okay. I may be wrong on
Chutneys
this one.
chutney is a melange of vegetable and or fruit with chunks in it,
Is it spiced?
and sometimes it is spiced.
So that would be the spice melange, would it? The spice
A
must
melange means just a blending of a melding.
reference missed.
Mm-hmm.
I could see you there with the little I've made a reference grid, but I'm there going, oh, what is it?
Yeah.
Spice melange from Dune. I mean, I don't even like Dune, and I know that reference.
Oh.
The spice
No, I never paid enough
raised
attention.
with a bunch of Philistines, I am.
Right.
Anyway.
All hand in your geek cards now.
It's terrible.
Have I passed
No,
my O levels yet?
I'm sorry, I can't. Mine is contained somewhere in my hyperdrive. E14 hyperdrive generator.
No, sorry, I could never get into Dune.
Yeah.
I found it way too dry. I tried reading it 3 times. I could
Is
never
that
get
because
more
it was
than
on
halfway through the
the
first
desert
one.
planet?
I've
very
read
arid.
it. I've watched the movie. I've watched the mini series. I've done each multiple times, except for trying to read it because and yeah, I couldn't get into it either, which is annoying because it seems like the kind of thing I'd love. Like I should totally be into Dune, given the other things I'm into. Can't do it. I don't know what it is. I do know what it is with the book though. Herbert has the same problem as J.R.R. Tolkien, or no, sorry, not J.R.R. Tolkien, George R.R. Martin, in that he over describes everything.
I'll
Well,
give you that. Yes.
Nothing is left to my imagination. And I'm like, I don't need 3 pages on what the tapestries looked like in the dining hall. I really don't. Oh my gosh, you're starting in on the silverware. Someone saved me from this book.
It could do with a if you don't want every item in the room described, skip to page 394 thing.
Yeah, that
Do
pretty
it like
much
one of your
sums
those
up
make
my
your own
experience
adventure
with it.
books.
Yeah, you're starting to make me think of picking that back off the shelf just to see how horrible it gets, because it's been a
I have the
long
same
time
problem
since I've
reading
read
Lord of the
Dune.
Rings.
Well, and they're remaking Dune, right?
Yep,
Again.
again.
I mean, we've already got a movie and a miniseries. Now we're getting another movie. I'm like, can you even bring Dune to the screen well? I don't know.
Probably not.
Not
I have
the
the
way
same
Herbert
problem reading
wrote
Lord of
it.
the Rings.
The big
'Cause-
difference between
It'll be all
Dune
CGI
the
now.
movie and Dune the movie and Dune the miniseries. The miniseries, Paul Atreides is such a little whiner through at least the first half of the miniseries. Like at least in the movie, he was played as someone you could kind of respect. But in the miniseries, you just want to kill him. He is such a whiny little bitch. I mean, seriously, I could not like his character in any way.
Excuse me.
Oh,
Like
my.
the good guy should not be so annoying that you're rooting for his death at the hands of the bad guys. I mean, unless that's the point of the story,
I can think of a couple of films and stories like that,
Well, in
but
any
I'm not
case.
going to because now I'm on the spot.
I don't know. I just went under the assumption that if I couldn't get into reading the book, the movie was going to be worse than the book, so I didn't bother.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
Not
I agree.
necessarily.
Because there have been times when I've watched a movie and then tried to read the book and went, "What the frick is this crap?"
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the issue that I had reading Lord of the Rings. I really love the films and I really love the audiobooks. But when I tried to read the book myself, manually with my eyes, being dyslexic was basically I was thrown out the window at the first page. It's just kind of okay, so that's a lot of detail. And then I'd read the next bit and I'd go, okay, I'm 15 chapters in and it hasn't got to Bilbo's birthday yet.
Well, okay. There was one series I tried to read that, again, seemed like the sort of thing I should like, but the writing style got in the way, and that is the Dragon Riders of Pern. Because
Okay.
I've heard so many good things about the book, but I get to the second chapter, and the next thing I know, it's this massive information dump of people's names and countries' names, and all of them sound like super, super creepy. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know who any of these people are. And you're telling me that this country is at war with that country because they've always hated this other country because of Emperor What's-His-Face. And I'm like, I'm so lost already. Like I'm 2 pages into the second chapter and I don't know any of what's going on.
It sounds like you just described 1984.
I'm like, introduce me to it slowly. Like give me relevant bits of information instead of an information dump.
Yeah, as a teenager, that was one of my favorite series. Looking back at it as an adult, yeah, not really so much.
That happens a lot, unfortunately, doesn't
Somewhere
it?
around here, I've actually got an autographed copy of it.
Another, like, speaking of, I enjoyed this as a teenager and now is The Belgariad and the Malorian by David Eddings. Those were good books when I was a teenager. Reading them now, I'm like, these are so trite. These are so, like, every character's a stereotype, and they all have, like, the same 2 or 3 lines they always say, where, like, you can really predict their next line just based on what they said a book ago. That kind of thing. It's like they're the shallowest characters ever. And it also gets kind of, I'm going to say, sexist at times with like the roles of men and women, but not just the roles, but the personalities they adopt to fit those roles. Like the the protagonist's wife is the most catty shrew ever, the most self-centered little bitch ever. And I'm just like, I hate this woman. I really do. And yet she's supposed to be the heroine. Like there was one respectable female character in the entire series. That's it.
What was it called again?
The Belgariad and the Malorian by David
Yeah,
Eddard.
I'm not going to remember that. Hang on.
Well,
The Belgarian and the
I've
what?
heard somebody mention it before,
Malorian.
but I never read it.
Malorian. Oh, I think I spelled it right.
Hey.
That never happens to me.
What doesn't?
I only
Looking up
spell
something and
weird.
spelling it right.
I only seem to be able to spell weird sci-fi or fantasy words correctly.
Well, you know, I have to say, mostly sci-fi, but also fantasy authors, writers, whatever, are overusing apostrophes. You don't need that many apostrophes. Sometimes it doesn't aid to the pronunciation of the word, whatever it is. They just put it in there to be cool.
Have you, by any chance, looked at the Mandarin dictionary?
The what of the what now?
It's the fictional language of the Mandalorians and Star Wars.
Oh, no, I have not.
Yeah, if you look at the dictionary for that, it's all apostrophes.
Well, and now I understand one of your problems with the Dragon Riders, the Pern.
Well, there is
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it was kind of used in place of a title. They would abbreviate the name with an apostrophe.
Well, one thing that,
The
that
insults
my-
and
probably my absolute favorite line from the Orville so far is when the alien chick who is impersonating a human is now like talking to Captain Mercer, and he just looks at her and goes, "I liked you so much better when you still used contractions." Because that is such an alien thing. Is no aliens in sci-fi use contractions ever. It's just like this thing, and I don't know why. It's like such lazy ass writing.
Yeah, wasn't it like the first 2 seasons of Star Trek: The Next Generation?
Huh? You
Few
went
data
away.
con-
You totally went away after saying
faded.
Next Generation.
You win bye-bye,
Oh.
Purple.
The first 2 seasons of Star Trek: The Next Generation, they said Data couldn't use contractions, and then they just
Yeah.
kind
Not
of
use
dropped that.
contraction?
Yeah,
Well,
I,
wasn't there a...
you know, and it's like
Well,
really,
that's how they tried to
you've
tell
got
them
the
apart from the
sophisticated. You've
Yeah, I
got the
was just,
sophisticated
mentioning that,
artificial
yeah.
intelligence that can perfectly mimic a human, but can't say doesn't.
Yeah, that's how they
Well,
were
that's how they
differentiating
distinguished
him
him from
from
lore.
from lore, because they were lore would use contractions. That was also a dickhead.
Oh my god, I'm in a Star Trek conversation.
I don't know. That was just, I thought it was incredibly lame.
It's funny because I used to be in the whole like you can only like Star Wars or Star Trek, but not both
No.
camp for a long time. But I've since like decided that's not true, and I've gotten
Not at
into
all.
a certain amount of Star Trek, but some of it is really still quite awful. And there are just certain tropes that they always use that make me go, "This is why I prefer other sci-fi to Star Trek." I don't know. It's like there's one of the reasons I love the Orville is because it's like if Star Trek didn't have that stick up its ass. You know, like I mean, the thing is that
I'll put a stick up
Star
Wolf's
Trek
ass, if you know what
tries
I mean.
so hard to be like look at how cultured we are, look at how sophisticated we are. You know, we all like read Shakespeare and listen to Bach and all that stuff. Just once I'd like to see
What's
a
wrong
Star
with
Trek
Bach?
character whose hobby is like you know, they love a good rockin' guitar solo. You know,
I wanna
where like instead of what's his face, Riker playing his trumpet or whatever, someone just like busts a massive guitar
I wanna
riff, like totally metal. They go into the holodeck and they surround themselves with like butt rockers and they're up on a stage and that's their fantasy is to be
That's what the
that
Klingons
guy.
are for.
You know, I would like to see someone in Star Trek order a beer instead of like wine or something. It's just it seems, I know it's Picard's thing, but it seems like they're all drinking tea.
They can't do
That's-
that.
I want to
Romulan
see
angles.
Crusher and Troy in the holodeck twerking.
They can't.
Okay.
They can't order a beer because Romulan ale is illegal.
Well, that's another thing. That is clearly not ale. Can you picture Romulans drinking ale? And it's blue. It doesn't have a head. It's not sparkling in any way. That is not ale.
Oh God.
I'm just saying that's clearly a liquor or a liqueur. It is not beer in any way.
Okay,
If I had to pick,
maybe
if I had to
the word ale.
pick after you, Orange.
Sorry, say that again.
No, after you.
I was
Take
just
care,
saying that
Angie.
maybe the word ale in Romulan means something completely different.
It
Well,
could be.
then they should translate it into English properly.
If I had to pick a beverage from Star Trek that I would like to drink, it would be the Kanar that the Cardassians drink on Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
Because it's a nice dark brown. It looks slightly thick, and it looks like it comes in like a spiral bottle. It looks like something that would maybe be slightly sweet.
Okay. I don't
Also,
know.
there was that
somehow
whole
makes
subplot where they poisoned it. There was that whole subplot where they were trying to give one of the Cardassians poison Kanar. That was fun.
I must have missed that. I was never a fan of the Cardassians anyway. Like the Cardassians and the Ferengi are two Star Trek races I could totally do without.
Bloody
Kim
spoonheads.
Kardashian's the bomb.
I don't know. I'm definitely not a fan of the Cardassians. Kim and Chloe really get on my nerves. And
Oh, have you seen that? Have you seen that
was wondering
picture?
who would make that joke.
Hang on, let me see if I can find it.
Now, the one scene that I always wanted to see in like the Next Generation or Deep Space Nine is I wanted to see them have like the great grandson of Harry Mudd trying to negotiate with the Cardassians.
Oh my! Oh yeah!
There it is. I found it.
What did you
What
found?
was
Let
that
us see.
right
Let
there?
us see.
There we go.
What did you found it?
Keeping up with the Cardassians.
Now,
Boy.
one way that Star Trek could win me over from Star Wars is if they had single-seat, high-speed, stick and throttle attack fighters. If Star Trek had X-wings or some equivalent, I'd be so much more into it than I am.
I didn't think you were into the stick and throttle thing.
Oh, please. Right?
Now,
Has it been universally accepted that they just wouldn't work in space?
I don't care. That's the way that it's cool. I mean, that's one thing that bugs the hell out of me is the number of sci-fi fans who are like, well, this is better because it's realistic. I'm like, dude, it's fucking fiction. It doesn't have to be realistic. It's
There's a
much
reason it's
more
called science
fun when it's
fiction.
not realistic. It's science fiction, not science fiction.
Oh please, no! If you want realism, you have to go to the whole orbital mechanics thing, where you were changing orbits in a totally what's the word I'm looking for? A way you don't think it's opposite the way you think it has to be done.
Oh, kind of like the
Counterintuitive?
Flanders.
Yeah, you go faster to end up going slower, and then you do the whole slingshot around the planets and everything else like that. You are not doing any of this flying like a fighter, for fuck's sake. You're traveling in straight lines, and
I always thought that, wars in space would be more like in the age of sailing ships. You'd
Well, have you ever read
massive
the Honor Harrington
battleships.
series?
What's that?
Have you ever read the Honor Harrington series?
No.
Because that's exactly what it is. I mean, exactly.
Well,
My
that's what I
husband
figured.
loved those.
I figured it would just be, like massive battleships that you line up and you make a pass and you unload everything, and then it's going to take you a long time to turn around to come about to make another pass.
That is the Honor Harrington series. If you want that, you read Honor Harrington. The first book is On Basilisk Station by David Weber. I think you'll enjoy it.
No, I didn't necessarily say it would be entertaining. I just think that would be more realistic.
Well, okay, but I'm just saying it's been done, and honestly, okay, I enjoyed the first 8 or 9 books, but after a while it started being so much of the same thing over and over. But seriously, if that's what if that's what's in your head, read those books.
I think battles have been fought over months. I think you'd go to a solar system and just pick off things from the Oort cloud and redirect them to whatever you're trying to damage.
Yeah.
Well, these are battles between ships rather than fixed targets.
But I don't think a ship would ever be there long enough. I don't see how you can have a battle between ships. Because
Why not?
At light speed, really.
All right.
you're at light speed, you're already beyond. You're
Does
already
anyone know
beyond.
I
Isaac?
mean, if your
anyone-
weapons are light speed weapons, then you could totally do it.
Yes,
Does
but
anyone know
both of those-
Isaac Arthur, the Science Futurism channel?
Isaac Arthur.
Yeah, he did a whole video on spaceship combat that was quite interesting. It's like half an hour long.
I'm trying to remember what it was, but there was some series a while back where they realized, we really can't fight ship to ship. So every battle we have is a boarding action. Like the whole thing was, if we want to fight, we actually have to cooperate enough to dock, and then we will fight like hand to hand, gun to gun, whatever. Like that way. I'm trying to remember what the hell that was, but I seem to remember that was a thing once.
Well, unless you had a ship that was like designed to ram the other ship to open a breach in it so that you could then send them
Ramming
over.
speed. Sorry.
Again,
Yeah, well,
as soon as you're doing orbital mechanics, all it's got to do is, as you're approaching it, is just slow down a little bit, and you'll.
Worf's got the best
the
ramming.
way to avoid that is to get a good ship at the orbital dealership, and then you don't have to worry about the orbital mechanics.
Okay
Right.
then.
Just make sure you
Wolves.
get the warranty.
Well, that's
Make sure you get the insurance that covers ramming action.
The extended warranty.
I find how I find how you buy cars in America really weird.
How we do what now?
How you buy cars?
Oh, buy cars. That is so not what I heard. I heard.
What do you mean?
I heard
No,
bike hard. Like we're riding bicycles and we really mean it, is what I heard. But
The whole
how you say.
having a
Now, what do you
relationship
mean
with a dealer.
critical?
Having a relationship with a dealer.
Yeah.
As opposed to.
You go to a dealer and you buy a car, and that's it.
Yeah,
Isn't that what
I
we
was
do
just
here?
I turned up
No.
a film
I
accident.
think what he's referring to is that in England, the dealerships are not like the mechanics and everything.
They can be, but excuse
I
me.
do not here either, or at least not in my experience. In my experience, if your car is broken, you don't take it to the dealership, you take it to a garage.
Well,
And not a garage, by the way.
Yeah.
We take cars to the garage.
yeah, the
We put
manufacturers here
petrol in the
don't.
cars at the garage.
And then I was doing some looking
And they
on.
park in the carport.
In the what?
I'm-
The carport.
What's a carport?
Isn't that what you call the garage?
No.
Call the
What's
garage
a
a garage.
The separate building that you park your car in by your house is called a.
Garage.
Garage.
Oh, garage.
Then who do you take your car to when it's broken?
The garage.
So
See?
you keep it at home, yeah. I was looking on YouTube, just here, there, and everywhere.
When your car is broken, you just put it on cinder blocks on your front yard.
Yeah,
Obviously.
there you go. Oh,
clearly been to Liverpool.
man, could do some really bad jokes here. I was looking at films on YouTube yesterday, day before, something like that, and I actually came across a series of films where this guy was actually telling you how to buy a car. It was working with a car dealer, and this is what you should do when you want to buy a car. This is what you should not do when you want to buy a car.
See-
And does it have to come with a rule book? For God's sake!
See, around here, we just go to a place where there are cars, and what we do is we go in there and we give them money, and then we leave with the car and the paperwork that says we now own the car.
Well, it's kind of what we do.
Yeah, that's what we do here.
I'm not sure why you think it's different.
Well, you get warranties for starters, unless we're buying a brand new car.
Well,
what's
isn't that
what's
what
all
we're
this?
talking about? I thought we were talking
What's all
about buying
this?
a new car.
What's all this car dealership monopolies and negotiating and all this business about?
Yeah, that
We
whole
don't usually have
negotiating
that.
thing
I
is a
mean,
thing I
usually it's
couldn't.
like go to Bob's Subaru or something. It's like an independent business. You know, you get your car at Crazy Ernie's. Everything must go. Yeah.
I lived near a car dealership called Crazy Eddie's, but that's another story.
You were Crazy Eddie.
Well, I was Crazy Eddie at one point. That those days are gone, long gone. I'm Crazy Diana now. But
Arranged Diana.
there you go. There you go.
The raised
Yep.
Diana.
Daffy.
Ditzy Diana.
Disturbed. How many other alliterations can we come up with?
Ditzy.
Notice how easy it is for Kate to come up with that stuff. You would
Well,
think she
because he
knew me or
loves
something.
you.
Just the way my brain works. Me and words. We have a weird association, me and words.
I went to Crazy
Oh
Bob's,
my! But the whole
cars.
thing, this guy in the films is going through the ways that car dealers will try to get the better of you and
Yeah,
try
that's
to
the
charge
thing I
you,
was talking about.
for things that don't belong there and everything else. And if you have to take a course in order to recognize the things people will do on it, and it's like going into battle, then is it even worth doing?
Well, I'm just going to buy a scooter.
This is coming from someone who has not owned a car since 1989. So, take it for what it's worth.
I haven't even driven a car since 2002. Well, no, wait. I take that back.
You see,
I
I don't
haven't
believe
driven a
that.
car in meat space since 2002. I've driven plenty of virtual cars.
Meat space. I like that.
Well, there's meat space in
You don't
cyberspace.
look old enough to have been driving in 2002.
Sorry, what?
You don't look old enough to have been driving in 2002.
How old do you think I am?
I have no idea how old I think you are.
Well, okay, that is the one thing you should know is how old you think I am.
No, I just know that I think you're younger.
You're
than-
digging yourself a hole.
I know.
Well, by the statement you made, you've got to have some idea of how old you might be.
Take a wild guess.
No.
Don't do it. It's a trap.
It really
I said
is.
trap.
I can't remember the last time somebody gave me a serious estimate of how old, like not joking, how old they think I am that wasn't flattering. So
You look about 25, Kate.
Dave,
I'll take
Dave, here's the
that.
problem. Here's the problem that you're making for yourself here, Dave.
Go on.
As soon as I can get my split cam to work, I think I've crashed the
man.
But hey,
bloody software
personally,
now.
Kate, I'd rather have someone say I look too young to be driving than I look too old to be driving.
Alright, here's the problem that you have right now, Dave.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I know.
No.
Okay,
That's
so I'm
That's
standing
not
on
trap.
All you got it. Seriously, if you make a guess, I can probably almost certainly guarantee that you will be wrong in the correct direction.
it.
The problem is I got my license in 2000.
Okay.
I don't think you're anywhere near my age.
Diana,
Well-
check the side chat.
Let's put it this way. I graduated high school in 1993.
You bloody ancient boy, Dave.
You're older
That's
than
the
me.
darn thing, man.
But
Yeah,
I
like,
used to graduate high
Let's
school.
put it this way. At the very ass end of December of this year, I will turn 44.
No.
At all.
It's true.
You about that
She
that
will.
Greek, no, this is fucking no, fuck this line up already. Come back to me.
There we go. Okay, trio.
I'm willing to stake a fair amount of money that you would have guessed younger than 43.
Yes. Like I said, I didn't. Our conversation started because I didn't think you were old enough.
But that's why I told you to take a wild stab at how old you thought I was, because you weren't going to insult me.
I'd have put you a few if you're either side of 30.
Okay, I'll take that. What is this then? Oh, it's your tail.
Okay, wait a minute. Where are we here? What the heck was that?
My lighting was bad.
Hi, Tria.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yay! Tria's here! Yay! 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 Yay!
It's Tria's tail.
But I tell you, that's I'm always going to remember the look on Aaron Ra's face. We were sitting around the table at Helton's house. This was after the protest was over. I don't remember what it was that spawned the comment, but I said I was born in '57. Aaron wheels around. You're younger than I am? You're older than I am? I said, yeah. I thought you were younger than I am. I thought it was 5 years, but I thought it was the other way. And I was like, Jesus Christ. So he's taking me for 52, which I will take any day of the week. Most certainly. But it doesn't do me any good, but, what can I tell you?
Well, Aaron Ra's good people.
Say again?
I like
I said, Aaron Ra's good people.
I love him so dearly. I really do. He's a big sweetie. Great hugger.
That is so not what I heard.
Say again.
You said great hugger, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
That is
I
not.
know what you heard.
You're on I'm hearing something other than what you said, Kick, today. I don't know.
What I heard, my first because I was like, she had to say hugger, but my first thought was great. He's a great hooker, and I was
Yes, that's what I heard as well.
I also heard
as long
that.
as Lalandra doesn't mind, that would be fine. What the hell.
I
He
also
knows
heard
the
great hooker, but
Diana.
my brain didn't take me to. She must mean great hugger. It just stayed with great hooker.
well,
So I go, okay, but he doesn't. Does he have the legs for it?
He's got the everything for it.
I don't know. I haven't seen him in shorts, so I couldn't tell you.
I don't know.
I don't
Some
know,
people
for some
like
reason
that
that-
dad bod thing.
well, like when you said, does he have the legs for it? My brain went to, yeah, but they're in his trunk. And then I was like, and that brought me to thinking about something that I heard where it's like, if you donate a kidney, you're a hero. If you donate 5, you're a psychopath who needs counseling.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to give blood and they ask all those personal questions, like whose blood is this and where did you get it? So,
Mhm.
Why is it pre-bags?
Well,
Oh,
anyway.
man, I missed that stuff. I used to go to the Central Blood Bank every 56 days, and that was a
Can you
long,
imagine
long
bringing
time
your
ago.
own in a Ziploc bag? Here you go.
I
wait a
would
minute.
guess
This
probably
is ketchup.
not. But
The other one I used to do was,
I guess probably not. But you could try.
Well,
Yeah.
Neil, the 604 atheist, is the big blood donor.
Let's ask,
He doesn't-
let's ask Neil if we can give blood in bags.
oh, there we go.
Can
Yeah,
we bring our own already bagged?
the other one I used to
I'll
do.
ask him on Twitter. Give me a minute.
Yeah, the other thing I used to do was apheresis, which you remove the platelets from the blood and give the donor everything else back.
Plasma.
And,
Right?
Apheresis is
Plasma?
actually giving platelets.
Yeah, you give the plasma back. Yeah, they kept the platelets.
See, I've always been a little disturbed by the concept of a plasma cannon.
Yeah, could be messy.
Good
But
night, Doc.
the whole apheresis donation thing was great. You picked out your favorite movie. You sat there with the lines, one in each arm, and you watched the movie. And when the movie was over, it was pretty much time to be done.
And they give you a cookie.
And a
I
glass
don't
of
remember
juice.
if they did that after the apheresis. I know you got it after the whole blood donation.
Alright, I've asked Neil, I'll let you know what he says.
Who? What?
About pre-bagged blood.
Okay.
He's asking Neil about pre-bagged blood.
Okay,
What was his name? He just
Wait a
dropped
minute. If
around.
somebody's. Oh, okay. You were putting a note to him. Okay. Because I was going to say I didn't think Neil was going to be here. He usually doesn't make it to these. It's not on his schedule.
I'll send him a tweet.
Yeah, that's just because he's Canadian.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
We know about them.
I don't know. It's funny
Canadians.
because I love everything about Canada except how cold it is and Quebec. But it is a lot of fun to make fun of Canada, even if you think it's awesome. I don't know why. There's just something so inherently hittable about Canada.
I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
that's it.
There are days I want to run to Canada, however, but I rather doubt they would have me.
If Trump wins a second term, I have every intention of trying to move to New Zealand.
Oh, you can go live with Notcher.
Yeah,
He's an
or
Australian place, aren't
wow, brain not work now.
Actually,
Nicola.
I don't know if we
What the
can
hell is her online her YouTube name? I can't remember now, but Griffin 957. That's it, or Griffin 987 or something. Her. She lives in New Zealand.
Ah,
Back to
my
Canada.
cousin.
The best joke I ever. Go ahead.
No, after you, I'm talking bullshit.
The best joke I ever heard about Canada is why is Minnesota so windy?
Go on.
Because Canada sucks and Iowa blows.
Um,
yeah,
I'd
I would
like to-
only work in Minnesota.
I think I could get on with the temperature in Canada. I think it'd be good for me.
I could not.
I would have a hard
Cold,
time.
I do not get along. I can't do cold. I can't. I'd rather be too hot than too cold.
Well,
I've
there-
never
It's
Yeah.
like being too hot is kind of uncomfortable. You get a little slimy and but cold actively hurts. Like
Yes,
cold
it
is
does.
really
Oh
okay
boy,
with,
does it ever.
But cold, you can put more clothes on.
Yeah. Are you
Well,
familiar, okay, with
It
temperature
doesn't
in
help.
Celsius?
Yeah, you do
What?
get to a point where the extra clothes
What-
don't
what
actually
did that
help.
say?
Hang on. Are you familiar with the temperature in Celsius? Because I can't do Fahrenheit in my head.
Well, I can't really do Celsius either.
Oh, balls. Right, let me look this up.
Not in my head. Well, that's actually something I've wondered about. It's like if I wanted to try to transition to the metric system, I mean, like, I think the biggest barrier is not like the math or anything. It's just I have all these familiar distances. Or if I tell someone, oh, yeah, it's 2 miles down the road, if someone tried to say, yeah, but well, it's this many
3
kilometers,
meters.
I'd be like, but now you're getting into all kinds of wacky decimals, and I don't really I don't have the reference anymore. If I tried to say, oh yeah, that's 300 yards that way, and someone tried to give it to me in meters, I would be lost. And
Okay, let me ask you this: Does 60 degrees Fahrenheit sound like a sensible?
That's balmy.
70?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
60 works.
That's a bit on the chilly edge.
60
According
degrees
to
Fahrenheit
my
is okay.
calculations,
2 Fahrenheit is much better.
according to my calculations,
59 Fahrenheit.
60 Fahrenheit would be
Hot and
about
sweaty.
15 Celsius. So
Okay.
let's go with that. Would be the top end of a comfortable temperature for me.
Really?
Oh, you're
'Cause
covered in
I-
fur.
At 60 degrees Fahrenheit, I probably would still have a hoodie with me just in case.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd still be wearing several layers, but I like wearing several layers.
Well, those,
Oh,
But that's wearing
oh.
fur. So
yeah, I know there's.
I like to wear like a big puffy jacket and stuff, and long coats and hats and things. So
Sure.
being out in 20-degree hang on. 20 68 degrees is getting too hot.
Okay, well, let me get a converter up here.
start at 34 degrees Fahrenheit,
Okay, I would
multiply by
like it
whatever
around
seat by
about
1.
22.2
There's an
degrees
easier way.
22-ish.
Check the chat. Check the
22
side
ish.
chat.
Well, it's not
Yeah.
degrees, Kelvin. It's kelvins. Please. Kelvin is the unit.
I don't think it is.
But
Start at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, multiply by whatever C by 1.8, and add or subtract that from 32.
Well, and that's another problem. Calling it C doesn't work because that's light speed.
yeah, I know that I surprised you the last time I mentioned it, and I don't mention it very often, but those couple of years I spent homeless really did it to me as far as the cold goes. I think I've got something of a PTSD going when it gets below 50. I mean, I have walked from here to the grocery store, which is less than a mile. During the winter, it is a biting cold. I am in tears because it is so cold. I am literally crying. I can't take it.
I actually have very, very, very tiny veins, and so my blood does not warm me. And that's part of why I'm so sensitive to cold. I mean, like over the last couple of years, I've had to have a lot of medical procedures done because of the seizures and stuff like that. And so I've had a lot of blood drawn over the last couple of years, like maybe 4 times a year, just them having blood drawn. And like I keep telling them, you are not digging around in my Krellbow to find a vein because you won't. You're taking it from my hand. You can see this massive vein right here. You're taking it from there because you'll only have to stab me once.
Mm-hmm.
Because every other vein I got is minuscule. It does not. It doesn't warm me, and that's why cold sucks.
I think I've got the hang of the temperature conversion here. So, if I've got this right, at about 60 Fahrenheit, I'd be the top end of comfortable. By 70, I'm going, okay, this is a bit hot, I need a fan. And by 80, I'm dying.
Well, 70 Fahrenheit is what most people consider room temperature.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, there's, as far as the conversion goes, there's an interesting way to convert that I learned back in high school that's a whole lot easier than the one you always see. It operates from the equivalence point, where minus 40 Fahrenheit and minus 40 Celsius are the same temperature. So what you do is you take your temperature, no matter what it is, subtract, you add 40. Yes, you add 40. Then you apply the appropriate conversion factor. C to F, it's 1.8. F to C, it's whatever the other one is. And then you go the other way with the 40. You add the 40 back. I mean, you subtract the 40 out again.
Oh, you give me a headache,
All right.
Diana.
Well, what I've got here is
You're doing this
40 Fahrenheit. 40 Fahrenheit is nice for me. That's it's cold, but that means that I can go out wearing my big fluffy coats and scarves and hats, and I can flounce around the countryside in my enormous.
Flouncing badgers.
Do you actually
There is
flounce
something I'll
all
have in
that
my
much?
mind forever.
One thing that's kind of funny is like my last name is Fahr, Fahr, right? And sometimes I get those automated calls that like remind me of appointments or something. And because they see the letters of my last name, it turns it automatically into Fahrenheit. So I have gotten calls for Kate Fahrenheit more than once.
Fahrenheit.
Yes.
Autocomplete.
And they're not even doing that correctly because the name is actually Fahrenheit, but that's beside the point.
Well, regardless, my name is definitely not Fahrenheit
No, it's
in
not.
any way. And yet that's what the phone system decided my name was. I guess FAHR is an abbreviation that it decided. Oh, stupid
I
robocalls.
can't get flouncing badgers out of my head.
Well, you should see a doctor about that because they could remove them.
Do you know
Badgers?
how the Fahrenheit scale got set when the guy was
Oh,
inventing the thermometer?
There's an interesting story behind that. Do you know that one, Purple?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
When he was assembling his thermometer, he just put it out on the windowsill in the winter, and where it stopped, he marked that as 0.
Yeah, when it was as cold
And
as
then
he
he
thought it
stuck
could
it in
get.
his mouth, and where it stopped, he marked that as 100.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's totally
yeah, the
arbitrary.
reason we have that whole scale is completely arbitrary. It was just a cold winter's day, and he was running a slight fever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is what I do like about the Kelvin scale and the derivative thereof, the Celsius scale, is that you have actual signposts along the way.
Yeah, it's relevant to something natural.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Kelvin sounds to me like it could be a really great last name for a space hero.
Mm.
You know,
And his
Lance
sidekick Hobbs.
Kelvin, space adventurer, that kind of thing.
And his faithful sidekick Hobbs.
No.
Yep. That's what I always think of when I hear it.
Calvin and Hobbs.
Is he, no, that's gone.
You not get much sleep,
Oh,
Kate?
I saw that, Kate.
It's not been restful sleep. You know the kind of sleep where you wake up still tired?
I
Yes.
too well know
That's pretty
that.
much every day for me.
Thing is, I think that my sleep rhythms are screwed up because I'm usually like exhausted in the afternoon, and then come nighttime, I'm like wide the frick awake. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't want to go to sleep at a time where I wake up and the sun isn't out yet. So yeah, I don't know. Like my rhythms need to get back in sync with sunlight.
Oh,
In
man.
fact, last night,
Sunlight's overrated.
I was having some serious insomnia the other night, and the only way I found to finally make me zonk out was a little bit of the weed. Like I tried everything else, warm milk and all that other stuff. Only thing that helped was this.
Okay then.
Benadryl.
I don't have Benadryl. I suppose I could have taken a shot of rum, but I don't think that would have helped much. So,
Yeah, Benadryl is diphenhydramine, and that's the active ingredient in most over-the-counter sleep medications.
Yeah.
When I was dealing with some stuff a little while ago, I tended to spend the evening with a nice bottle of rum or whiskey or something similar, and that would
What?
it would knock me out, but it wouldn't necessarily actually get me rest.
No, Badger, you seem like the brandy type to me.
Well, what would
Sifter
happen is
brand.
I'd wake up, I'd wake up the next morning and be like, oh shit, I probably shouldn't have drunk so much last night.
Yeah, getting drunk will make you pass out, but it will not lead to good sleep.
Right.
So
Right.
I don't do that anymore.
yeah,
Also-
my interest in alcohol has almost entirely gone away.
Yeah, also, I considered becoming an alcoholic for a while while I was dealing with some stuff that was very upsetting. But the problem was, I went down to the shop, took one look at the prices of everything, and went, "Oh, fuck this."
Weed's cheaper?
I'll just go home and sit sad and not drunk.
Yeah, weed is not cheap, at least not in California. Like,
Of course,
let's
once they legalize it, it's
this
expensive.
right here is $60 worth.
Yep.
So, mind you, it's lasted about 2 weeks now, so
Yeah.
maybe it's worth it. But still, I
Well,
know
that's-
that edibles are much more expensive. Like they seem less expensive, but they don't last as long.
We made the brownies a while ago, me and some friends of mine. It was an interesting experience, especially for the one chap who, for medical reasons, wasn't eating them. He kind of sat there looking at us like we were all a bunch of weirdos while we invented chocolate.
Well, aren't you a bunch of weirdos?
Yeah, but we were high weirdos then. We
Oh,
invented
those are the
chocolate.
best weirdos. New scale. Freezing is 0 degrees Fahrenheit.
I've lost it. Hang on, there it
In the
is.
side chat. It's hilarious. Well, don't everybody talk at once.
No, Dave, I'm afraid that confuse Americans.
Right. Someone said something like someone was wrong online, and that was unacceptable. So I had to.
That's usually
Well,
me.
I was explaining to someone like, you ever see the movie St. Elmo's Fire?
Yep.
Because like when I love the Brat Pack movies, but when I watched that one, I was like, these are some of the like most overprivileged, self-centered little rat bastards ever, aren't they?
Uh-huh.
They're just, these are some of the worst people in the world. Like if you stuck them with the cast of Seinfeld, the only difference would be the laugh track. So I had to point that out to somebody because you know what? I had to. It was on the internet and they were wrong.
Yes.
But if it's on the internet, it has to be true.
No.
This is why I stick to. This is why I stick to red.
Nah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you really think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
Well, don't even get me started on some of the shit I've been seeing lately about the whole Epstein suicide.
Oh,
It's Hillary.
Oh man, yeah, I
Hillary
know.
did it.
See, that's the thing is
Hang on.
the reason I think that like Hillary didn't do it is simply because of how brazen it was.
I thought it was Alex
You know,
Jones that
it
did
was
it.
totally ham-fisted to the point where I'm like, the only people being suspected now are like Hillary and her cronies. And if they
I
did
thought
it,
Alex
they have to
Jones
be
did
going,
it
oh
as a,
shit,
like-
oh shit, oh shit, because they bungled it. Everyone thinks it's them now. And
I thought
I mean,
Alex Jones
I'm
did it as like
thinking it can't
a false flag operation.
possibly like if I was going to have someone assassinated while they sat in prison, I'd be much better about it than this, you know?
And considering they screwed up the first time.
So
Mhm.
I doubt that this was the big conspiracy everyone wants it to be. That's all.
I thought Alex Jones did it as a false flag operation.
There you are. But there's the thing
And
I
why
don't
would Hillary
understand.
care?
No, I don't
Because-
understand how.
Because he has dirt on everybody, that's why.
Well, not anymore, he doesn't.
Well, okay, fair. point.
Lots of dirt now.
Okay, I'm going to stop with that. Back to the previous line of talking. That's the sitcom characters being assholes thing is why I just stick with Red Dwarf. They were written that way deliberately.
Well, so are the characters in Seinfeld, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and stuff like that. Actually, it's funny. It took me like 3 attempts to get into It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia because I didn't get what they were doing. Like it wasn't entirely their fault or my fault because they were doing what they were doing well, but the idea of the show, the premise of the show, the way it was going to be acted and written and presented was not something I was expecting, and so it took me a while to really realize, oh, if I watch it expecting this, I'll enjoy it so much more.
Yeah, I've had that happen with shows that I watched and I didn't quite get the premise, so I didn't like it. But
The Orville.
after a while, got
Nerdy
Nah,
says that
I
Red
love
Dwarf actually
Orville
funny.
right the heck away, so I don't know what you're on about.
I don't know. The first season of the Orville I thought was okay. I didn't think it was anything great.
Oh, I thought it was brilliant.
I've just been watching clips from Red Dwarf, actually.
Well,
Oh,
you know,
I love
I hate to say, watching Red Dwarf again recently, I wasn't as into it as I used to be. Like, I take a couple of years of not watching it And then I come back to it and I'm like, I still like this, but not as much as I used to.
You just killed the badger.
I didn't. No, Red
And-
Dwarf.
And I have to admit, around about season 7 or so, the show definitely nuked the fridge. That's just all there is to it.
I think
I'm
you
sorry,
just
but
killed the badger.
the new Kachansky was so pathetic. I'm sorry, they should never have brought back Kachansky.
Actually, yeah, I can see what you mean with Kachansky.
I mean, if they'd gotten the original actress, okay, maybe.
Other
But-
than that,
Oh. And then, of course, I get the Arnold Rimmer experience song stuck in my head.
Yeah.
oh, for fuck's sake, you got it stuck in my head now.
Arnold Rimmer. If
Rimmer.
life in life would be much grimmer. Yeah, that. Oh, that is a pernicious earworm.
I like watching the Smeg ups.
Yeah.
That's some of my favourite things of the show. What's this?
Meanwhile, I'm sitting here thinking I'm definitely going to have to go back to regular coffee.
As opposed to.
Okay, here's the
Decaf.
deal. I, for a while, had only regular caffeinated coffee around here. I had bought a can, that thing you used to call it 3 pounds, and it was actually 3 pounds. I don't know what it is now anymore.
Right.
And that was all I had. I'd run out of the decaf, so I made that. And I was drinking it, and everything's great. Then yesterday, I bought a container of decaf, and I made a pot of decaf, and God, it tastes like shit. There's just
Mix
something.
it half and half.
It tastes wrong.
Okay.
It tastes.
Well, it's weird to me that caffeine has a taste. I didn't realize that until I stopped drinking or consuming caffeine in any way for several years. And then I had something caffeinated, and I was like, oh my gosh, caffeine is so bitter. It's
Yes, it
nasty.
is.
For my fellow Brit over there, what are your thoughts on decaf tea?
I wouldn't hit a dead dog in the ass with it.
There's no such
What's
thing.
that
As
there?
there's no such thing as decaf tea.
Well, there's herbal teas.
No, you could buy tea that's been decapitated.
It's called decaffeinated, yeah.
But it's not tea.
Exactly, and it tastes fucking awful.
I mean,
So,
the
I mean,
fruity
what-
ones are all right, but they're just not as nice as a cup of tea.
Yeah, you gotta have a proper cup of tea.
Definitely could get cuppa.
What really scares me is I'm going to have to go back to caffeinated coffee on a regular basis, and then my doctor's going to be all over me. You're drinking coffee again, aren't you? Oh, come on,
Now I
man.
want some coffee.
Milk, lemon, or sugar in your tea.
Not into the doctor then?
Milk and sugar.
Milk and sugar? What about you, Badger?
I'm just a tea with milk in it. That's all I need.
Oh, you need sweetener.
No.
Oh,
Right.
no.
This is the thing with a group of my roleplay friends. Dave over there. This is not you. This is a different Dave.
There's another day?
Yeah.
Well, Dave's not
So-
here, man.
I go around to the place, and I tend to make all the cups of tea there during the roleplay game because if Dave makes the tea, he will invariably put sugar in my tea and will put too much of it in. So every time Dave goes to make the tea, he comes down, he puts the teas in front of everyone. I pick it up and I go, "Sugar in this, Dave," and he goes, "Yep."
Oh, man. But me, it's.
That was fine because I don't mind tea with sugar, but I prefer it without. But apart from one instance where I was a bit tired, and in fact I was very tired, and he gave me the tea with the sugar, and I drank it, and I had the sugar rush for about 10 minutes, and then I just fucking passed out on the table. I just went, I was gone.
Okay.
Do British people drink tea as much as the stereotype would have us believe?
Oh yes.
Far more.
I'm gonna go get some in a minute. Actually,
I think it's funny how tea, well sugared, is a cure for everything in the Brits.
yeah, literally. Is.
Are they hysterical? Give them tea, well sugared. Are you hurt? Give them tea, well sugared.
Yes.
Feeling a bit down? Would you like?
We'll give you some tea.
Feeling a bit down? Would you like to come round for a cup of tea?
Well
It is a
sugared.
proven fact that tea after
Oh, we're celebrating.
tea.
I would
after,
actually come quite angular for a cup of tea rather than round.
We're celebrating. Let's have a cup of tea. Oh,
That's
there's nothing going on. Let's have a cup of tea.
A cup of
There's
tea.
I'm
something
completely
going on.
with
Let's
the
have a
Brits.
cup of
I can't drink coffee.
Having a
And-
cuppa.
I can't get people to understand that you cannot make tea and pour it in a coffee cup. You will ruin it.
So what are your
Because no matter
feelings?
how many times you've scrubbed and bleached that cup, it's going to make the tea taste faintly like coffee.
So what
Tea
are,
should
what are
only
your
be served
feelings
in a
on
teacup.
iced
What is
tea?
is that?
I'm
Is that what you
curious.
discovered over here?
What's that? What's that?
I said, what are your feelings on iced tea?
Iced tea?
Yes.
What is this? You can't have
Never heard
iced
of
tea.
it.
It's not
tea.
It's not tea.
Yeah.
It's not tea anymore once it's iced. It's cold juice.
So you don't like it then? Have you ever tried it?
I don't know if I like it because it's called tea when it's not. You can't have tea and have it cold. That's not tea anymore.
Well, yeah, it is. Try it sometime. You'll like it. Trust
do you
me.
call what comes
Okay.
out of a toaster bread?
What?
In America,
If you
Wait, hold on.
if you bring some iced
Something
tea,
about
if you bring
bread.
some of this so-called iced tea around and put a label on it that says juice, I will try it.
in America,
What was that-
iced
what
tea
was
is
that
known as
about
the house
bread?
wine of the
You
South.
said something about bread. What was the thing about bread?
Yeah, I forgot. If you do you still call it bread after it comes out the toaster?
Yes. No, that's
No.
toast.
Exactly.
toast.
I've never understood that. I mean, where does the bread go? When it pops up, there's toast, but no bread left. Where did it go? It disappeared.
Well, it's the same gremlins that steal your socks out of the dryer.
When you
It's-
chill tea,
It's kind of like when I go to the store to try to buy food and all they have is ingredients.
Mhm.
Oh, I need to
Right.
just.
When
Excuse
you
me a
chill
moment. I need
tea-
to just respond to Orla in the chat, who is mumbling about me only having tea bags. As you very well know, I have a proper teapot with a proper tea strainer, and I can have tea with the proper loose leaf tea. However, the problem there is, it gets all in the bottom of your cup, and I forget. And as I'm drinking my tea, I'm there and I'm drinking it, and I'm going, nice tea. And I get to the bottom of the cup, and I go on the tea leaves. So that is why we invented the tea
You
bag.
have a proper.
So wait,
Have a
Wait.
proper tea strainer.
wait. Are you saying that you go teabagging or not?
Yes.
Oh, I go tea bagging in multiple senses of the word.
Well,
But if you're
Badger,
getting-
see, there's that.
Badger.
There's also the problem that the tea strainers are kind of bulky to keep in my jacket pocket.
And that, yes.
But I
Have
have
you-
to carry tea bags around here because every place will serve coffee. It is often difficult to find a decent cup of tea.
Well, yeah. So what do you like? Tell them to bring you a cup of really hot water, and then you just throw your tea bag in it.
Yes. At
Yes,
restaurants,
teabagging as well.
I do.
Oh, that's it. If I ever go
He's
to
teabagging
America,
when
that
we
is
go out
exactly
to-
what I'm going to have to do. I will be arrested at the border for smuggling tea everywhere in my coat.
Badger, have you seen the David Mitchell rant about cleaning his teapot in QI?
Yes, I have.
That sums up any teapots I've had.
Well, I suppose I have to
You like
ask: were
teapots?
any of those teapots short and stout?
And stout.
All teapots are short and stout, unless you get one of those weird long ones. But they're not proper teapots. That's a jug at that point.
No. Well, they have to be short and stout because if the surface area The ratio of the surface area to the volume is important.
Okay, you were
The
The
not
more
supposed to
surface
take
area
it
you
that
have for a given
seriously.
volume,
You
the
were
faster they lose the heat.
really
All
not
right.
supposed to take it that seriously.
We're
We're
British.
talking about tea to
This
a
is
Brit.
We're talking about
damn
And
it.
it's not
tea to
supposed to be that
Brits.
serious.
All right.
Uh,
Question for all the blasted colonials over there. What?
Hey, I'm
How-
on your side with the tea here.
How do you heat your water?
Well, it depends on if I'm in a hurry or not, doesn't it?
In a kettle.
That's good.
I've done
How
it
does
in the
everyone else heat
microwave.
their water?
I've done
Yeah,
it
I've
in a
got
microwave.
Microwave?
Seriously, 2 minutes in a microwave, your water will be hot enough for any beverage.
You would
A
give my
microwave?
grandma you would give my poor grandmother a heart attack.
Why do
I
you
have
think
an
water in a
electric
microwave?
kettle.
I mean, is there something about a microwave that will change the properties of the water that will make consuming the ultimate beverage no longer the same?
No, but the water does go colder
outrageous.
faster.
This is just not. This is
No,
not proper.
no,
This is
I'm
not
just-
cricket.
Have you
I
never heard of a
want
kettle?
a taste test. I want to put 2 cups of tea in front of somebody and say, one of
It's
these was done with a
part of the-
kettle and one of these was done with a microwave. I challenge you to tell me the difference. Go.
It's part of the ritual of making tea.
Oh,
Yes.
ritual.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If I'm drinking tea, it's because I want to consume tea. And for
You
no
boil
other
the
reason.
kettle.
Boil the water in the kettle.
How
Pour
do
the
you
kettle into
know?
the pot.
You put it in the microwave. You turn the microwave on, and then you look away for a minute, and then your water is everywhere but the cup. So
No, it doesn't happen in my microwave. Maybe you have
all you
really
do-
horrible British microwaves over
You
there.
get a kettle. You get a kettle. You plug the kettle into the wall. You turn the kettle on, and then when the water's ready, the kettle goes ping.
Yes,
And then
but
the hot water goes from the
takes
kettle
longer
into
than
the
2
pot.
minutes, and it only takes 2 minutes in the microwave, and it does not splosh everywhere the way it does in your primitive British microwaves. So,
You get
Handle a boiling hot
Touche.
Black- thing.
or
Or the
you get
boiling
a
water.
proper kettle that whistles. You get a
Oh.
nice kettle. You put it on the
it
stove.
takes
You
longer
put it
than
on the
2
stove,
minutes now,
and
doesn't it?
then you know. Or all right then, I will link you to a video by a chappie called Colin Furs who made a jet-powered kettle. He called it a jettle.
Yeah, and it's
I have a problem with it
Okay,
just from the
then.
name.
The one
And
I want to
it
know.
is marginally faster than a normal kettle.
Okay. But the one I want to know is, okay, for the physicists in here, and if there are none, I'm screwed. Why does water make that sound just before it comes to a boil? You've got the water in the kettle, and it's going. And then
Well,
it,
it's the property of the kettle. It has nothing to do with the water itself. You boil water in a pot, and it won't do that.
Yeah, well, the kettle only contains it.
yeah,
You do
and
it
even,
in a
and
bit of
even
pan, it'll do it.
it even happens when I boil water in a saucepan. It
I've
makes
never
that
had
It's
to
the
Yeah.
sound.
bubble. It's the bubbles popping.
Yeah, I know this. It's collapsing micro air pockets.
Okay. Okay.
Way to go, purple! Woohoo!
I only have that happen
Roll one
if
for the
I'm
Americans.
using like a pot.
Score one for
No,
the
see,
Americans.
that's what you have to listen for because then you have to shut the kettle off. You don't want it to
Yes.
come to a
You
full
don't
boil.
want it to. Yeah.
Or I
yeah.
could just use 2 minutes in a microwave.
Uh,
If you're making
Yeah,
tea, you
'cause,
want it to come to the boil.
If you.
It'll
No.
boil in the microwave, and it'll be hot enough to actually let the tea,
If
steam.
you haven't boiled it, it's not hot enough for tea.
It is hot enough for tea.
No.
British
you're
noises.
killing them over there.
Okay, but see, you boil it, but then you pour it into the teapot. Usually a ceramic teapot, which cools it slightly to make it the right
Yes.
temperature. Because
Part of
you can't
ritual.
actually pour boiling water over black tea. It will turn it bitter.
You'll
Uh,
burn the
this is-
tea
this
leaves.
is just
Ritual.
too much work for not enough return.
Oh, but then you haven't had good tea.
That's not true.
There are two tea making rituals. There's the quick one and the proper one. The proper one is loose leaf tea in a teapot with a tea strainer, and the quick one is a tea bag in your mug. They are both ritual things, and they have different meanings.
What? I don't want meaning in my tea. I want something to drink.
But they don't drink it; they sip it.
No, seriously, I remember there was some Japanese tea ceremony I watched once where there was this whole thing like, okay, and then when you give the tea to the other person, before you do it, you have to turn the cup.
Turn the cup
like
3 times.
I'm sitting there going, this is the stupidest thing in the entire Western universe. Just drink the fucking tea.
You.
I mean, seriously, like, I don't need a ritual for my drinks. And I don't. It's not like it's not like every time I open a bottle of Mountain Dew for the power of caffeine. No, I just fucking drink the soda. I mean, come on.
And this is how you get iced tea.
Well,
now
it's what you've started here, Kate, is a slippery slope that you end up with iced tea. And
oh, you haven't even tried iced tea, so I don't want to hear it.
We can't let this continue. We're going to have to retake the colonies, Dave.
I'm sorry, you haven't even heard. Until you try iced tea, you don't get to.
Wait a minute.
Powder.
Wait a minute. I might be on board with this plan. Does this include executing Trump?
Of course it does. The Queen would be in charge.
Yeah, but here's the whole problem. Now, then we have to put up with that whole Brexit thing.
We'd have a colony.
Boris Yeltsin or Johnson or whoever the fuck you guys are selecting.
Boris Yeltsin.
I don't know that there's that much difference between Yeltsin and Johnson, to tell you the truth.
It might be a technicality here.
Don't worry about Johnson. Once he starts trying to be prime minister, he'll get stuck on a zip line over London. He'll be there for his entire term, so don't worry about him.
You know what you need to do is to elect a giant transforming robot, so then you could have an Optimus Prime Minister.
I'd be fine with that, actually, as long as the transforms into the kind of anthropomorphic looking form with a top hat, a monocle, and teeth.
Hands.
You might be able to arrange that, maybe, perhaps. I'm not sure.
Wait a minute. Now, something has occurred to me here that we may have a way out. Do we actually have to wait for Canada to attack in order for us to surrender to them?
See, now I'm just getting mental images of the mouse that roared. Did you ever see the mouse that roared?
Yes,
I know
it's beautiful.
has. Because
I've seen it.
if you haven't seen, the whole plot is there's this like little tiny European nation that is slowly going under, and there's nothing they can do about it. But they looked at like how the United States treated Germany in World War II, or after World War II, and they're like, well, if we want the support of the United States, we just need to lose a war to them, and then they will support us. And so they try to conquer the U.S., or rather, they try to invade the U.S. and lose deliberately, except they accidentally win.
Yeah,
The war.
and then all the fun starts.
Yeah, it's a really, like, I mean, I hate to say it's not a very good movie. The premise is great, but watching it, I was like, this could use an update. But still, like, the basic idea is similar to let's surrender to Canada.
Well, you see, we I think we would offer to come and sort things out for you over there, in proper British stiff-upper-lip fashion. However, we're still kind of bitter about the tea in the harbour thing. So you might be on your own.
Well, you don't make tea with salt water.
I still say that was your fault. But anyway.
Kate, I
You
must just...
threw the tea in the water.
Yes, but why?
It wasn't even boiled.
Why did you throw the tea in the water?
Because you're
Wait a minute. Okay, this explains why they so hate the iced tea. It's all because the tea
threw the tea in the water,
and they're still resenting that.
Okay, I am not
should-
about to
should we-
drink hot tea when it's like 90 degrees outside.
It's
I'm sorry,
refreshing.
that's not happening.
It's lovely.
No.
Should we tell them?
It needs to be iced if I'm going to drink it while I'm outside in 90-degree weather.
That is the best
Should we
time for
tell
tea.
them that most of the iced tea is made from tea powder?
Tea powder.
No.
Now you did it.
Have you seen the
I
tea
think I
powder?
just heard what the sound of Badger's head exploding sounds like.
Yeah. No. I will only drink that stuff out of desperation.
I think I
Iced
just heard
tea, yeah.
Badger's head
I like
explode.
iced tea. And there's this Arizona green iced tea that is so freaking good, like green tea that's iced. Oh my gosh, humana humana. I love that stuff. Yummy, yummy.
Right.
And until you've tried it, you don't get to knock it. And that's all there is to it.
Well,
I don't know, I'm not-
I've got.
Put a name
I've
tag
got
on it
one
that
for
says
the bread.
juice, and I'll give it a try.
Okay.
It will taste nothing like juice.
I don't know how the Brits would feel about blending teas. Because when I make iced tea, I blend the black tea and some herbal teas with it.
They
It's
probably.
That sounds exactly like juice.
Chamomile and peppermint.
Depends what
probably
you mean
feel-
by blending, Jack. Do you mean as in mixing a few together, or do you mean
No.
putting
Yeah.
them in a blender?
No,
No,
as in
mixing
mixing
teas
several different flavored tea bags together.
I get
Yeah,
the impression that
well,
you guys might feel
us-
that way, or the same way about that as I feel about blended scotches. In other words, it doesn't
Could
work.
be acceptable, but it's not really the pure experience.
Uh-huh,
All right,
yeah.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you a choice. You can either have iced tea or Tone Loc.
What is Tone Loc?
Tone Loc.
Well, it's not claiming to be tea, so I'll take that one.
I've seen it, but I don't know what the hell it is.
Okay. Wow, reference
Iced tea
totally
and Tone Loc are
iced
both
tea and
rappers.
yes, they're rappers. Iced tea, and like it's ice dash tea.
Okay.
Ice.
Okay,
tea.
okay. You know, I am
Tone Loc.
totally out of the. Yeah, I'm
I
out
want
of
some
that.
funky
Well, the thing is,
Pasadena.
I used to enjoy, like I've said for many years, I can't stand rap. I fucking hate rap. But what I realize is I actually don't like gangsta rap. Like there was rap when it was fairly new, sort of in the late
Yeah.
80s and early 90s.
like
and stuff.
Vanilla
It was
Ice.
actually fairly decent. But then
Like
it
me.
got into the whole like pop a
Medina.
cap in your ass and it started to really suck.
Yeah, and unfortunately, all I hear in this neighborhood is the
Yeah, it's
gangsta
Pop
rap,
Cap rap.
turned up to 93, where the quarter panels on the cars are vibrating. As the car goes down the street, it's like, oh God, have you never heard of Beethoven?
Oh, Beethoven.
Well,
Come on,
actually,
Jeff
if
Leppard.
they're listening
Steel
to it in their
Panther.
car at that volume,
Well,
they probably
yeah.
haven't heard anything.
Remind me to send you some music by this chappie here.
Ah,
But you
the freak
guys,
is that? Get it away.
This
I
would
don't
be
like
Professor. This Professor Elemental. He is a very
Alright.
fine British gentleman who does the rapping, and he does the rapping as it should be done, Britishly.
He's good at the rap.
Okay, you'll have to send me that because I cannot imagine what a British rapper would sound like.
He does what is known as chap hop.
Well, hey, dear friends, I'm here to rap because I'm a wonderful British chap.
you know that's
Yeah,
going
pretty
on a
much.
highlight reel, Kate.
Well, I'm
That's
sorry,
pretty-
but about like rapping Britishly, that's where my brain goes.
It's
Yeah.
pretty much that.
Have you heard Doc Brown's rap?
No.
Right, Kate, I was just going to say to you, I will need to email you about that collaboration idea, but I will send you a Twitter thing because when I do, you may need to check your spam folder. Because something about my email address, my contact email for doing this kind of YouTube stuff, sends it automatically to people's spam folders. I don't know what it is.
Well, it's because it's coming from Britain, so we know it's spam.
What are the
I
words
think
that you think are controversial in it?
Spam
I
doesn't
think
come
I
from
think
Britain.
I
Spam
don't know what
comes
you
from
mean, Dave.
Minnesota.
It's the email address is just badger@cock.li. I don't know what could be controversial about
It's the LI.
that.
And purple, spam does not come from Britain. Spam comes from Minnesota.
Then we have corned beef.
Yeah, it comes
I
from
don't know, I'm just
Minnesota. And
picturing like I'm a corking bloke. I live in Kent. I'm no gangster. I'm a proper gent. I don't.
That's awesome, Kate.
I could like turn this shit out all day if I had
That's pretty
to.
much that, actually. Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. I could give you a quick. There's another chap who does it called Reginald Pike Devant Esquire. I could tell you a few lines from one of his things, if you like. I'm just gonna mute myself while I try to get it in my head.
Don't get Diana copyright infringement.
No, we don't want that stuff happening on my channel. That's true.
Actually,
it would
I don't know
count
if
as-
YouTube would observe copyrights from outside the U.S. anyway.
It would count as a vocal cover because it's me.
I wouldn't risk it for her. We love Diana too much.
I
Also,
have
he's
no
an
idea
independent
why.
Or do we?
Hey! Some of us do.
I'm sorry. I just
love her
like
more
being a
than
bit of a
you.
brat.
I love her
Let
more
me just
than
think
you.
if
I
I
mean,
can
you
think
may
of
have noticed I have a bit of a bratty streak in my nature.
I'll be
Yeah.
right back. I'm just going to see if I can think of
That's
some
what
of
makes
the
you
kinds
so
of
endearing,
rhymes that you
Kate.
get in chat hop.
Right? 'Tis part of me charm, don't you know?
There's still the lucky charms.
I still wish I had a really cool accent, because I'm sorry, sounding like I have never in my life heard someone go, "Oh, United States accents. Oh, it's so sexy." It's never happened, you know.
You don't have
And
the worst United States accent.
well,
No, definitely not.
Wait a
Well,
minute.
Oh, no.
I've got, hands
Which
down.
is
I
the
can tell you what
worst-
that
The
is.
worst accent, the worst United States accent could be a
New
lot of
Jersey.
things. I mean, it could be like, oh my God, I'm from the Valley. That one's not so great. You know? But then there's like,
All
yeah,
right.
partner. You know, and then there's,
I
hey, I'm
found-
from New York over here. Huh? You know, I mean, what?
I like the New York. I like the New York one. Do the New York one.
Hey,
I-
all right, I'm not, I'm over here talking like I'm from New York, and that's the way it is.
All
I don't know
Okay,
what
but
you
you
want
want
me to
the
say
one-
over here, but
Just
I
a
think
quick
we-
example of the kind of rhymes that you get with proper British chat hop. This is this is from a song called "Just Glue Some Gears on It and Call It Steampunk."
Hey!
The opening line goes, "As I read the Gazette to catch up on the news, some classified adverts I chanced to peruse."
Eek. But then you wondered, Dave, about the worst American accent. I'll give you that one hands down. Pittsburgh.
Joyzy.
where Boston. Boston's the worst.
Boston.
Beston.
I mean,
Well, you
here
put
in
it
Pittsburgh,
on,
Harvard
Harvard
Yard.
my head breaks. My ears fall off when I hear. I'm going downtown and then back to the house. And it's like the worst of Boston.
I don't know. I have to admit, I've developed quite an intense dislike of the word y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Florence, y'all.
I'm
think-
sorry. I'm not getting rid of y'all. I'm not. You can't make me.
the worst.
Oh, we have ways. My minions
worst
will follow up on you within the hour.
The worst American accent, just because it's the most embarrassing, has to be the Alabama hillbilly.
Oh,
Okay.
Lord.
Well, actually, Vermont redneck isn't all that great. Okay, there's a part of Vermont called Colchester, except everyone called it Skullchester because everyone chewed tobacco, and I can't even imitate it anymore. Like the sort of the phrase everyone would use was "yod ear buck," like that, where when people would say yes, it was "yod ear buck." You got that right. You know, that kind of thing. It was this horrible New
Kind of
England.
like Minnesota, you betcha.
Kind
I want to
of.
read some more chat pop.
Oh, you know, when I actually got curious once because I know what people sort of like how they use in Canada the word hoser, but I didn't know
Yeah.
why. I had to look up
Hoser.
why finally to figure it out. It turns out that whenever someone would lose a hockey game, it was their team's job to hose down the ice. And so a
you
hoser
hoser.
is a loser, is the thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Take off, you hoster.
Well, it was just something I was curious about, and I finally looked it the hell up.
Here's another little
Today
example
I
from the
learned-
chat hop.
Yes.
Go ahead.
It's talking about people selling steampunk things or things that have been called steampunk. It says, I quite enjoy the steampunk aesthetic, but what I found there was rather pathetic. These intrepid online auctioneers have just taken modern objects and stuck on some gears.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, it's about right though.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a fan of steampunk
The next
myself.
line is,
I like,
it's
I like
simply not cricket.
I like cyberpunk. I like ray punk. I like atom punk. I like diesel punk, but not steampunk. So
I like
Steampunk's
solar
my
punk.
jam. Steampunk
I
is
like
my
solar
jam.
steampunk is too old. I don't like it. It has
But I'm
that
British.
I
It's
hate
the
it.
Victorian
But,
British we love.
Like, I don't
Yes,
like
but I'm British.
Victorian
We all
styles.
existed 200 years ago.
I would rather see Brit punk than steampunk.
Yeah,
The British punk scene's kind of cool,
Dude,
even
Johnny
if there does
Rotten.
seem to be a disproportionate number of skinheads.
would you agree with me, Dave, that the punk scene around here has been rather lacking lately?
I wouldn't
There's a
know.
punk scene around here.
Yeah, just in Britain, would you say that the punk scene has kind of
The punk scene seemed to have disappeared before I got to university.
yeah.
Maybe the end of the 80s.
Yeah.
All right.
The steampunk scene, on the other hand, is thriving.
Very much so.
You know, I'm
Because
pretty
everyone
sure that
wants to live
Tony
like it's 100
Designs
years
in the
ago.
chat can tell me how old he is all by his own darn self. I'm just
Where is it?
saying. But in the chat, Tony Designs, he says, someone tell Kate how old I am. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you can tell me your own darn self.
You've got fingers, Tony.
Yes,
Or if they've
here's
fallen off
them.
because they're too old.
Oh, speaking of which, Diana, have
Yes.
you watched Purgatony yet?
Have I watched which?
Purgatony.
No, not yet.
I know I told you to watch it. You should. It's funny as fuck. It's really
I
good.
know. I need to get to that. Let me put that on my calendar because I definitely need to do this. I mean, if you're recommending it, I know it's damn good.
Oh, it's
Seems
hilarious. It's about this guy named Tony Purgatelli who works in purgatory deciding if people go to heaven or hell. And it's like this total sort of office thing. Like he works in a cubicle. It's some seriously funny shit.
There, we've got that written down. Now I'm going to lose the note. Not problem. Not problem
Oh,
at
you
all.
finally get it all together and then forget where you put it?
Oh, happens every
It's all right.
time. I have my doctor give me an appointment card, and I tell my doctor, yeah, please give me the appointment card so I can lose it.
Right.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Like my doctors will actually have the robocall to inform me of an appointment, which helps because I would never remember. Like, unless I have a prescription that runs out to tell me it's time to call my doctor, I will never remember the appointment.
Yeah, well, that's with me too. The GP has one of those robocallers, which is great because it comes 2 days before the appointment, which means I've got a full 24 hours to get my act together
Forget about
and get
it.
there.
Forget about it.
Forget about
Now,
it.
with the nephrologist, I don't remember getting a call from them the last time. I'll see if I get one this time. I do have the appointment card, so I know where to be and when to be there. All I have to do is get those damn blood and urine tests done. Jesus Christ. Last time I was there, he gave me a list of tests that he wanted done. That was longer than War and Peace. and I've got to go to the local Quest Diagnostic and have these orders taken care of. God damn.
And you look at him like, how can I afford this?
Moo.
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 Moo moo moo?
Moo. It is a general word of assent in the language called Fluent Stupid.
Yeah.
I don't know where the hell I got started with that one, but I know I have been told, Sloth Girl, that you started picking that up.
Moo.
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 Okay. I
Yeah,
like
you're
trees.
coming from a couple of directions lately.
So
Use me.
anyway, I'm pondering stuff I need to do other than this, because there is stuff I need to do.
But none
Other
of it
than
is
this,
none of it is as important as this, right?
Well, there's that whole having food in the house thing. Could be a little on the important side.
Could be.
Yeah, I like
Just
food.
about-
I think though I might be addicted to food. I mean, I've tried to quit, but the withdrawal pangs were, pretty horrible, and I start to get pretty weak and stuff. So I
Crabby.
Oh,
I
tell me
have
about
to
that
eat
shit.
at least occasionally. I mean, as long as I do it in moderation, I'm okay, and my doctor doesn't get on my case.
Alright, I'm just about to send you an email about that collaboration thing. It will probably end up in your spam folder somehow.
Okay. Well,
Sending
then I
it
won't see it, will I?
now.
Oh, well, I'll look. Of course, now I have that. No, that did not end up in my spam folder. I'm going to have to move it now.
He did it on purpose.
Oh crap!
What did I do?
What? You sent it in a way that did not end up in my spam folder, and now I don't know what to do. I'm all discombobulated because I'm supposed to with the thing and the stuff. I don't understand.
Especially the stuff. And oh my word, Nerdy Rodent, oh my, what have I done? Nerdy Rodent, move beef? God, everybody's picking this shit up. Somebody shoot
Move
me and
it.
get me out of your
Okay.
misery.
Well, I'm gonna make like the baby and head out, so I'll catch you like the plague. Have fun or else.
Well, take care, sweetness.
Hey, later, Kate.
Bye-bye.
See you later, Kate.
Bye
Oh, yeah, let's go.
Missing you already.
Diana.
Well, you know how it is, right?
Yes, I kind of get it to a degree. I have had one or two crushes. Literally one or two crushes.
Oh, where's it gone? 1 second.
Basically,
Oh,
that
no,
sums
I've
up my life.
broken my
How many
whole
people
computer.
have you ever liked? Two?
Okay.
And the rest of them just go screw themselves.
Paying it, I'm not paying. Right. I don't know what this whole crush business is about at all. Just romance goes right over my head, you know.
When did Orla get there?
That's fair.
When did who get here?
Orla.
What do you mean?
Oh, she's been here a good while.
She was here before I was, I thought.
Yeah. She was throwing
I meant
comments
it
about.
badges.
Nobody's
was
looking
throwing
at
comments
nobody's
about
looking at the
making
video,
tea.
are they?
I didn't mean in the chat. I meant in Badger's Burrow.
Oh,
Oh.
I have no idea what you mean about crushes and stuff. I don't know what's going on.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
I'm just going to I'm just gonna
Or like
quickly go
Patrick
to
and
the.
her burrow.
Oh, Purple. Is it alright if I quickly show off that spinny video effect I did for you?
oh yes, go right
Oh,
up.
please.
Huh? What?
So this is what I came up with for Mr. Purple.
Oh wow.
That's awesome.
Show it again. I missed it.
Yeah, will be.
Hello, I'm talking and saying things so that my picture
Well,
appears
wait a
in
minute
the
here.
Hangout.
Give me half a second, and I'll take care of that. How's that sound?
Yeah, it runs about 45 seconds in a loop.
There we go. That ought to keep us up there.
Or not.
No, it's not working.
That
I've
is
lost the
freaking
chat now.
awesome.
There it is. Yeah, so I'm saying
my
words
God.
and things so that my picture appears, and I'm being very
Oh my
very terribly
God,
British
it's so
about it.
freaking awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everyone
so
else has
that's
to
what
be quiet.
that's what I came up with for you, Mr. Purple. It's a transforming Triceratops, which the one you sent me, on a little
Yep.
hoverboard, floating around a kind of cyberpunky looking cityscape.
Yep, very cool.
Totally awesome.
Yeah,
Such
actually,
talent.
the Triceratops transforms into the Citron Sahara. So it's the car's hood that makes this frill.
Excellent.
Or the bonnet, as you would say.
So if we can ever get split cam working for you, you'll be able to use that when you're doing your what do you call it, shows.
Yep. Yeah,
Thingamies in Mid America or whatever.
my midnight Mid America or midday Mid America.
That's the ones.
Yep.
What in the
Yeah.
middle of the morning?
Right now I think my computer is running into its memory issues because I'm noticing other things are being a little erratic.
Yeah.
So I'll have to
Oh,
reinstall the split cam.
Oh dear, my clothes seem to have come off.
So,
Where's the stream
Yeah,
chat gone? Oh, there it is.
yeah. I didn't have a
Yeah, so
chance
that's
to
what I
get
was-
out and reboot the computer before the chat started today.
Yeah. Well, if you want to just grab me at a time. Let's try again. If you just want to grab me at a time that's good for you, and when I'm actually here, then I can try and go through looking at the
The split screen.
cam, trying to make it work.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it may just be right now. It may have run into a memory issue when it was trying to install. So I'll try reinstalling it and see how that goes.
Something that I've started doing when I'm doing my live streams on my thing is I'll do a little thing with my avatar and the person I'm talking to his avatar standing next to each other in a fun little animated thing. I'm just trying to find a good example of one.
Well,
There we
the
go.
ones where you had Nacha down in your burrow.
Yeah, there's those, but for the live ones, I do something. For the live ones, I do something like this. This is one I did recently, where I was talking to someone called OG Mara Jade. So I came up with that.
What is
think,
going on with your
Ah.
hands? What is going on with your hands?
My hands?
Yeah,
What's wrong with my hands?
I don't know.
There's claws. They're not hands.
Well, my arms are folded, aren't they? So they're behind my arms.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Oh, I think I've just broken myself. Give me a minute. I've got too many things running at once. I've got too many browsers open. PC is going, stop, please! Don't try to open the media player as well. There we go, back to normal. Oh, my clothes are still gone.
Woohoo! It's a naked
I better-
badger.
What have I done to this my house?
And it's dead.
Ah. Ouch.
I've broken everything. There
Yep.
we go. I fixed
You
it.
broke the chat.
What happens when you get the Brits in your stream? You just cock it up.
Good at that.
Hey, I better make my escape actually, because I need to go and do something shortly.
Okay, I'll drop you a
Gotta go
note,
to the
and
shops.
as well as you, Dave. Let's see if we can
might
actually
just
get
pop down to the
a
kitchen.
live chat discussion going on the whole Second Amendment thing. That sounds really interesting to me.
And me and Dave can argue with each other Britishly.
Pretty much, pretty much.
You've heard.
It's not very often that
What?
I get a chance to have both sides of the issue on my program.
The problem is, I actually think we ultimately agree with each other.
Oh, we probably do because we're British. But I keep saying to myself, I need to stop labouring the British point, but then I realise I'm not going to.
I got to say, I've just changed the format of how I was doing my first video, and I decided I'm just going to play up the British.
That's what I do.
I think anybody who opposes sensible gun control should be shot.
Oh, I've been shot on paintballing. Alright, I must toodle off. I'm going to go down, pop down to the kitchen, get myself a cup of tea.
Oh boy.
Real tea.
Oh yes, proper tea. And then I think a friend of mine will want me to shoot zombies with it.
Oh, yummy.
At some point, I'll get around to
Zombie
doing a gaming
shooters.
stream.
Yum.
At some point, I'll get around to doing a gaming stream, but I'll have to do that when I can figure out how to make it go.
So what do you use to make zombie shooters? What type of alcohol?
We'll probably be using absinthe actually, because it's green.
Oh, okay.
You get the real thing, right, Badger?
Not quite, no. I did look into getting like proper absinthe when me and a friend tried it. But the problem is the proper hallucinating absinthe is very expensive.
Uh-huh.
I didn't think you could buy. I didn't think it was legal in this country anymore.
It isn't anywhere, but
But we got the we got some of the not quite hallucinating absinthe, and that was very nice.
It was
Although,
just
just
green.
remember, absinthe makes the heart grow fonder.
Although we did the issue with it was that we drank more than was advisable, and then I woke up the next morning fucked, and I could not find the bag that I keep my toothbrush in because I was staying at a friend's house at the time. I realised that it was on the roof.
Oh no.
Apparently, in our drunken stupor, I'd managed to throw my wash bag out of the window. Right, so very lovely talking to you fine people. I shall speak to you all later.
Yeah,
Go enjoy
okay,
a proper
definitely. You
cuppa.
be good, have
You betcha.
fun. You'll get a note.
Oh.
my.
Later, Badger.
What is that going on in the back there that sounds like,
I was probably picking up me typing.
oh, is that
I'm
it? It
sorry, I'm
sounded like
also
a hard,
typing.
It sounded like a hard candy wrapper.
What was that?
I am not eating candy, but I am typing up a storm, so.
Yeah, it sounded like taking the cellophane off a piece of hard candy.
Ah,
Yep. That's what it sounds like when you type, Diana, except it's hammers.
Well, I have a proper
okay.
keyboard.
I'm kind of freaking out because my next video is supposed to be done by the end of the month, and this is like the biggest video that I have ever done.
Tria, it's much
And
better. Oh my word, excuse me. It's much better to have the video needing to be done by the end of the month than it is by the end of the day.
that is true. It's just like this is one of the most complicated topics I've ever hit. And like I need to have, and I might have you read it, Diana, because you'll probably catch anything I miss. But basically, I'm discussing Mormon rituals, and I'm having to describe them in a way that makes sense to people who never were Mormon, but also doesn't go so deep into it that I get lost so into the actual rituals that I never get to the end part of the series and why I'm going into those rituals.
That may be the
And I'm
death of
actually,
you right.
huh?
That
Go
may
ahead,
be the
Diana.
death of you right there. I mean, trying to explain it in a way that makes sense. My understanding of Mormonism is nothing that comes out of that cult that ever makes sense.
But I was watching you yesterday, and you're brilliant at sidetracking into every little thing.
Yeah, well, okay. The problem is, and this is why part of why we sidetracked was you have to explain certain things for other things to make sense. And that's the problem that I'm running into. I'm actually talking about bishop interviews, but if you don't know why teenagers are going to the temple or what those interviews are about, then it's not going to make sense to you. And if I just drop a word, like I drop a word like ordinance, everybody's going to be like, well, what do you mean by ordinance? You know, so it's, yeah, so it's like, so, and also that was our first time, all three of us, like working together. So there's going to be a few episodes, I think, like that, where we're working out the kinks and trying to figure out how to stay on top while, you know, making sure everybody understands what we're talking about. Because, like I said, that stuff makes sense to me and Lara. We understand exactly what's going on, but we need to make sure that people who never were in the church aren't getting lost because we're not talking about stuff. And you notice there were times where I also went, hey, because there were times where, hey, I also wanted to note. That was also me trying to bring back on, these are things that I wanted to bring up because this is research that I have done, because this was a topic I was going to handle on my own. And I still might, because we didn't even cover half of what goes on and the history behind it and things like that. And you could pick those two black members that we talked about. You could do an entire like half-hour segment on those two people alone. So it like I said, it's probably going to take us a few rounds to get the kinks out, to learn how to relay the information without going too off topic. You know, so it's going to be a bit fuzzy for a few rounds, because like I said, we've never worked together before either. So that is also playing a part. But yes, I admit we rambled a lot and kind of were all over the place. So hopefully that gets better with time.
That's part of the problem with doing it live. You know, I can understand in concept what you're going through, because I think it's very similar to writing fiction and building a world, where you wind up writing 1,000 pages and then you somehow got to edit it down to 300.
Yeah, because there's a lot of Mormon lingo. There's a lot of rituals that do not exist in other churches, like confirmation, I don't think, is something that happens in churches. The laying on of hands for the gift of the Holy Ghost. I don't think that happens. I think confirmation means baby blessing in other denominations.
No.
Well,
Temple ceremonies don't exist.
for Catholics, confirmation is done as a teenager. It's kind of equivalent to a bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and that was part of the problem was I was trying to bring up that it's like, because you hear, oh, well, blacks weren't allowed to have the priesthood, therefore they weren't allowed to go to the temple, which is a huge deal. That's nothing to sneeze at. But I also didn't want it to be lost that they were not allowed to participate in everyday aspects of being Mormon as well. It wasn't just, oh, you can't go to the temple. It was things like my dad had the privilege of baptizing me. For him, that was exciting. For me, that was exciting when I still believed. That was a special moment for us. Black people would not have had that special moment. They would have had some white guy, baptize their child. Meanwhile, watching white members being able to baptize their own children. And that's where we kind of got rambly, was I wanted to bring that point up because, like I said, it wasn't just, oh, they couldn't go to the temple. It was, no, they couldn't participate in so many different aspects of being Mormon. It was basically like you went to church, but you couldn't participate.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then that got rambly, and that's, like I said, that's part of the problem is you can't make sense of it unless you go off sometimes on tangents. And that is the problem that I have with talking about a lot of Mormonism, is there are subjects I want to tackle, but I'm trying to figure out how much information to give and trying to put it into words that can be conveyed to people who have never been part of the church. Because 99% of my audience has had no dealings whatsoever with Mormonism beyond occasionally meeting an ex-Mormon. And most ex-Mormons are not as vocal as I am.
And actually, what I'm picking up as I'm understanding more and more about the Mormons is it's beginning to feel like they've borrowed bits and pieces from almost every other denomination.
Mm-hmm. They did. That's actually, basically, Joseph Smith was taking everything that was quasi-popular at the time and trying to put it into his religion to make it more appealing as part of his con. Because you can't con people out of their money without some sort of reason behind it.
You need the ritual. It does seem to go hand in hand to get to garner the belief a ritual of some.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to matter what. If you look at very disparate things, but something that will follow some sort of ritual that people think is doing something.
Yeah. And like you can scare people out of their money. That's common tactic, but it's still a motivation. You have to have some motivation that you're selling in order to get people to hand their money over.
Well,
and it can be through fear or ritual, or I'm getting something out of it. You can't just be like, hey, hand your money over. That doesn't work.
The whole idea of the secretive rituals in the temple, that people have to reach a certain level to see these, is what will keep people in there for years and years trying to obtain a high enough level to see the secrets.
Yeah. And, well, to a certain degree, yes. To a certain degree, no. And I'm going to give you kind of why I say to a certain degree, no. You do have to reach a certain level to get all four of the basic requirements to be in the highest level of heaven. However, most people's knowledge stops there. They don't realize, because it's not talked about, that there's something called a second anointing. And basically, what it's you've gotten high enough up in the church to where no matter what you do, you cannot be demoted from that level of heaven. It doesn't matter what you do unless you blaspheme against the Holy Ghost. But basically, once you've had your second anointing, you can murder somebody and it's okay. You don't have to repent. It's not considered a sin for you.
Wow.
And most Mormons don't know that exists. And the few who do are pretty much told that they need to stay silent on it. And I don't know how high up the scale exactly you have to be, but I've never heard of anybody lower than what we call our general authorities. I've never heard anybody lower than that having a second anointing. So I'm assuming that it's only people who are in the top 70 or so people in the entire church, which sounds like a lot of people, but it's not when you consider that there's millions of members of the Mormon Church. So,
okay, sounds like a bit of
and
an
I only
oligarchy.
heard about it as an ex-Mormon. I didn't know it existed. I have documentation that it exists, and that I don't have documentation that it still happens, but I'm assuming it still does because that's something that I don't think anybody would give up willingly if they thought they had a shot at it.
That is some weird stuff going on there. It sounds like the inner reaches of the Kremlin or something.
Let's put it this way. I'm still looking into it because most of what I've heard comes from sources that I am unsure of. But there is some possibility that the Mormon Church sided with the Nazis during World War II.
Hey, the Catholics did. What should prevent the Mormons from doing it?
Yeah. The thing is that I'm inclined to believe it, but I want to see the sources.
Oh, good. Yeah,
because I mean, like I said, I really do believe that was a huge possibility, but all I've seen is people talking about it on Reddit, and I haven't actually seen the actual sources because Mormons tend to go, "Oh wait, that was a bad idea. Let's try to erase any evidence that this ever happened." So that also plays a part in that prospect as well. I wouldn't obviously trust church sources in that case, but I do want to look more into that because I am scared as shit with the way this country is going. The Mormons are going to jump in and use their money and influence to side with fascism when it reoccurs. They're not doing it now because it doesn't look good, but the moment that they have the ability to, I'm 99% certain that that's the way that the church is going to throw its money.
Not fun.
So, yeah. And people underestimate how much influence Mormons have. They have a lot more than people think. A lot of people quote the $32 billion in the stock market as the sum total of the church's assets. And I'm like, no. The reason they have money is they've been smart with their money. And somebody smart is not going to put all of their assets into the stock market. At most, they will put about a third of it in. So I'm guessing that the Mormon Church has at least $100 billion. Possibly more.
Enough to cause serious problems were they to decide, if it were possible at all, to move the money elsewhere.
Yep.
I mean, I've got to assume, like other groups, they've got an awful lot of land.
Yeah,
Well,
they
they've got
have a lot of land
huge
too.
tracts of land.
So land.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers on how much real estate that the church owns, but they not only own real estate, they own really expensive real estate.
Okay, here's the question
Those
now.
temples that they own are priced, the land and like the buildings that they've made and everything are in the billions. And those aren't counted with their assets because it's considered church property instead of part of their business ventures. So it doesn't count as their assets, even though it is an act. Yeah, it's tax exempt. It's not counted as part of their assets, but they could sell those off and get money real quick.
Now, okay, they're really into the real estate. Are they at all into the fake estate?
Depending on how you're posing that question, yes.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah. But
Well,
yeah,
it depends whether or not you think the idea of everybody getting their own planet is real. Those would be fake estates.
Wouldn't they, though?
well, they call each part of human life an estate. The premortal life is the first estate.
Oh, no.
The living is the second estate. After the resurrection is considered the third estate. So that was why I was like, depending on how you're posing that question, yeah.
Yeah.
Do kids get to partake of the estates?
We're supposed to be taking care of the planet, but every Mormon I know is pretty much waiting for Christ to return, so they're kind of pretty much in a fuck it mode. We're all going to be doomed anyway, which is not helpful.
How have
Really
any
not
of the
helpful.
groups convinced people that anything is imminent?
They start young. They start teaching you. Okay, you know how in
just said Jesus is coming in October or November.
In my case, like, there's times where I have to double check and be like, no, that didn't really happen. Oh shit, it did. You know how when you're in nursery, like the babies and the toddlers, in most churches, you might hear a couple of Bible stories. It's, but it's mostly trying to keep the kids active and like, not really, it's a little bit basic, but it's there. Mormons start teaching Mormon doctrine in the nursery. They start pushing it in the nursery. Also, when I was growing up, church was 3 hours on Sunday. And then there were activities that I was supposed to go to.
Blanket training.
No, they are not. But if you look at
blanket training, okay.
I know what blanket training is. They don't do it. The problem with Mormonism is they are more verbally abusive. Yeah, they're more verbally abusive than they are physically abusive. There is physical abuse in some scenarios, but when you look at what kind of abuse most people go through in Mormonism, it is mental abuse. And again, that depends because I have met ex-Mormons whose parents were physically abusive, but the church's doctrines and teachings don't really lean that way.
So they're not spare the rod, spoil the child.
It depends from family to family. My mom was huge against corporal punishment. Okay. However, if I messed up, I never heard the end of it. If I made a mistake, I would be hearing about it weeks after I had made that mistake.
Oh man, my ex dealt with a whole bunch of that shit.
Yeah. But my mom never physically touched me. She never physically touched me. She never physically threatened me. but she emotionally made my life hell
Now, on the
She
other
when I
hand,
messed up.
on the other hand, those two, they went right from corporal punishment to lieutenant colonel punishment. It was
Yeah.
not fun. Not fun at all.
But basically, when I was in high school, this was my schedule. I would wake up and go to before school scripture study. I'd go to school. On some days I'd have an after school activity that I enjoyed doing that had nothing to do with church stuff or anything like that. Then on Wednesday nights, I would have a youth meeting for an hour and a half. And oftentimes those activities were based around doctrine. They still try to make it fun, but a lot of times it would be like, okay, well, we want the girls to remember to pray, so let's create prayer rocks and talk about how prayer is important and stuff like that. Then I would go to bed, and then that would basically be my school days. Then on the weekends, nearly every Saturday, there was an activity of some sort that I was required to be at by my parents. The church itself did not say that I had to be there, but most Mormon parents require you to be at every meeting possible. And the church encourages parents to encourage that. So nearly every Saturday I had some sort of thing. Yep. Some of those activities would be like a couple hours. Some of them would be all day long. Then you'd have 3 hours of church on Sunday. And then you'd often have at least once a month, sometimes twice a month, you'd have a fireside or a devotional, and depending on where it was, you could travel up to an hour to get to it and an hour back, and you'd have an hour and a half of leadership telling you instructions of what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing and stuff along that nature. So that's part of the issue, is there's so much of a time sink. They take up so much of your time and they start so young that you don't have an opportunity to think any way else. Now, as far
to
as
be influenced by the outside world.
Yeah, you don't have a lot of opportunity to. Now, they've changed how long church is on Sundays, but they encourage you very strongly to go home and study the lessons together as a family, and they encourage you to pretty much go as long as you possibly can, depending on your child's age. Like, if you have a bunch of 3-year-olds, you're obviously not going to go for an hour talking about stuff. But if you have teenagers, they're going, the parents are going to try for hour and a half if they can get away with it. So
captive audience.
Yeah, and you really don't have a lot of choice as a Mormon teenager, because again, you can say you don't want to go, and your parents can make your life an emotional hell. So
Do they have television?
Yeah, we were allowed to watch television.
Video
it's
game?
just we could only
Okay.
Yeah, we could only watch specific channels.
Approved programs, PBS.
There's basically the approved list is nothing higher than PG. And this is for the adults as well. This isn't just for the kids. If you watch anything more than a PG movie, you're kept from doing certain aspects of Mormon life. So that also has a part to play. I was also told, because you're taught from a young age that the bishop has the ability to tell whether or not you're lying to him.
Oh.
And you believe it.
Yes. And this is all predicated on
if you're told,
it.
it's brainwashing. I mean, if you're told it enough, you're going to believe it.
Yeah. If you're told at a young enough age and enough times, you are going to believe that. And that was what happened with me. I would never join the church at 30 years old. Never would join it. Because I would look at it and be like, that is too much. That's too weird.
Restrictive.
But
Yeah.
having been born in it, I knew nothing else until I was in my 20s.
When you're old enough to
and
question.
that's part of the thing of restricting the outside information, is to make
Mhm.
sure that the kids get only one consistent story.
Yeah, and we were told that there were things that called anti-Mormon lies, where people were trying to take us away from the church, and that they were lying to us, and that we shouldn't listen. And so I would see something that looked contradictory to the church when I was younger, and I would just like automatically stop
they're
looking
lying
at
to
it
me.
and stop thinking about it. Oh, they're lying, so no, I'm not going to listen. Which is something that I'm going to actually go over as well, because people don't understand. They're like, well, all churches lie to you. And I'm like, yes, they do, but I don't think you understand the extremes to which certain Christian sects actually take that. Namely, Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons and the Scientologists.
Yeah, I mean,
Because,
the Jehovah's
yes,
Witnesses don't even do television.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that there are some minor differences there. I don't think there's differences in tactics. I think there's differences in as far as Jehovah's Witness and Mormonism go, but I think there's a difference in how some of their beliefs play out. Like in my case, in the Mormon church, you're actually encouraged to go to the doctor. You're encouraged to have any medical procedures that you deem necessary to keep yourself healthy.
Except a certain couple I can think of.
Yeah. And Jehovah's Witnesses are like, these are medical procedures that are not healthy for you. Do not do them. Jehovah will provide. And a lot of people...
If Jehovah decides you want to be dead, he wants you dead.
Yeah. And a lot of people ask me, and I understand their intention and why they ask. They're like, well, what's your sister's health like? And I'm like, my mom took kick-ass care of my sister's health. She didn't know what to do as far as like mental health issues with her, because there weren't a lot of resources, and the church pretty much taught her that God would take care of that aspect if she had enough faith. But as far as medical procedures and stuff, they don't play. If you're not medically taking care of your kid, they will intervene. And I think it's because as far as mental health goes, our entire country as a whole has shit attitudes towards mental health. So it's
absolutely.
still popular. It's still popular to just try to pray your mental health problems away. If it weren't popular, I don't think they'd have the same stance. That's why I think they push certain things like the medical stuff, because if your child doesn't look like it's being taken care of, then that looks bad on the Mormon church, and people won't do it.
That's what I was going to say. It makes them look bad, so you can't have that.
Yeah. But I'm telling you that once attitudes change on mental health, which I do believe that they will slowly, eventually, someday, I think the church would change its stance on that. The church will basically change its stance on everything at some point. They'll just be like 90 to 100 years behind everybody else.
Yep.
Mental health might be a bit of a harder issue, because then you're talking to a private counselor that they can't influence.
Yes.
Oh, you're told not to go to a private counselor. You're told to go to the bishop, because the bishop has special powers in order to do your counseling for you.
That's where I was headed. Yeah, keep the counseling internal.
Mm-hmm. It's all internal. In fact, I have struggled with... There's multiple reasons why I struggle finding therapy. The big one is when I often have money, I don't know where to go. And the other one is if I were to physically start going to a mental health professional for depression, that is going to lead to conversations with family members that I am not ready to have right now. Because basically they would blame my depression on me having left the church and be like,
Yeah.
well, if you came back to church, you'd be less depressed. Because if they allowed themselves to understand what I went through at church, they would no longer be believers. And they can't fathom that, and they can't let go of the reasons why they are still believing members of the church. It hurts too much. I know I went through that. It hurt like hell, but it was worth it to me. But they don't want to go through that hurt.
Well, you can set limits with your counselors too. Just say there are some things I just really don't want to talk about, or I don't feel I can talk about right now. But if it's bad, you really need to get some help.
Well, there are
I
the limits
understand that, but here's the problem that I've run into. One, most counselors treat Mormonism like any other religion. And when I go to counselors, they often want to replace that religion with another.
Mm-hmm.
Two, being asexual is in a weird limbo. It's often not considered LGBTQA+. And when it is, the person still doesn't know how to treat asexuality. And unfortunately, I need a counselor that knows how to handle both. Because a lot of my things that I need therapy for are involved with both of those aspects of who I am.
They're entwined.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I can see how the asexual things, make the way you approach all sorts of relationships very different.
Mm-hmm. And also, I was sexually assaulted because I am asexual. And the thing is that if I go into the wrong person's office, they try to make me into a sexual being, and I am not sexual. It's not healthy for you to not be sexual. Yes, for me personally, it is.
Yeah. Or they think that being asexual is a result of the abuse, and that as part of your recovery, you have to get beyond that.
Mm-hmm. And that is where I have the issue. Also, because it is considered a specialty, I often have to pay $40 to $70 more for a therapy appointment because of that. And y'all know I'm broke.
Yeah.
Can you not refuse to include that as part of it, given that you don't have a problem with it?
What's that?
Mm-hmm.
Can you not? I have absolutely no experience in this whatsoever. Can you not make that off limits?
The thing is that I need to talk about it so I can create boundaries, but therapists will sometimes override you, thinking that they know your health better than you do, and so they would override me on it. Now, I could avoid talking about my assault completely, but that is something that I need to deal with. I literally do not, I want to have a lifetime companion, but I literally do not date. I cannot date because when I look at a potential date, I'm like, well, this is kind of a life or death situation for me. I'm risking a lot. And that is not a healthy way to look at going on a date. Assault me, rape me, or play the game of, oh, I can change her. And then I find out 8 months in that the person was playing me all along, getting my pants, which has happened at least 2 or 3 times to me.
Yep.
So
it's a trust issue.
And like I said, I know it's something I need to go and get therapy for, but having the therapy available at the price I can pay has not happened.
Right.
Because I can't go to a free clinic. I can go to a discounted clinic, but even discounted, I'm going to pay about regular price, what would be regular price for everybody else, because I'm considered a specialty.
Right.
And that is one of the
Right.
reasons why I have my channel, is because I want it to get to a point where in everyday life, nobody blinks at the fact that somebody says that they're asexual. I don't know that it will ever happen, but I feel like it's worth at least trying for.
Well, if I came across in any way as unhelpful or judging, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, oh no, I'm not upset with you. I'm upset with the situation. It's been frustrating for me.
I just hate the
Because
idea that I may have insulted
yeah.
somebody unintentionally.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I wasn't insulted. It was just, and it's not common knowledge. Most people don't realize that asexuality has not been recognized as separate from hyposexuality disorder, which is
Right.
essentially basically low libido in women. It's not been
I
separate.
have that.
Yeah, it's not been separated up until I think the last DSMV. And even then, it wasn't separated completely, and it wasn't really clear. It was not clear enough, and it did not cut the difference enough. And a lot of psychiatrists and counselors and psychologists don't keep up with the changes like they should. They do the bare minimum to keep up.
They don't pay them enough.
Yeah.
They don't pay enough to care.
And so I get treated like I have hyposexuality disorder a lot of times when I even go to the doctor's office, because the only time I can go to the doctor is when I can get into the free clinic. And I have been denied medications because, oh, we don't want to mess with your libido. Well, I don't care about my libido.
I don't have a libido.
Give me my medicines. Thank you. Like, I can't, like, doctors cringe at giving somebody like me antidepressants. Because one of the side effects of a lot of antidepressants is it lowers your libido.
Yep. I totally understand that.
So they don't want to give them to me. Same with birth control. Even though I desperately need birth control, they don't want to give it to me most of the time.
Yep.
So, and I'm sorry, I went on a really sad tangent. I apologize for bringing everybody down. I do that sometimes. I don't mean to.
Hey, you gotta talk, you know?
Yeah.
Did it make you feel better? Even a little bit?
Yeah, it does.
Then it's worth it.
Yeah, and I can't say I understand everything you're going through, but, I'll listen if venting helps.
Yeah.
Sometimes just talking it out to people that can at least understand.
Yeah, and like I said, and that's something that I actively hope that at least my channel can do, is even if it doesn't make a lot of changes, maybe somebody comes across it and says, oh, I can hand this to, or I can hand this to it's relatable to me, so I can hand it to my doctor or my psychiatrist or my psychologist or my counselor.
Right,
and be like,
maybe they can help her.
Yep.
This is where I'm coming from, so that they don't have to spend their entire sessions trying to educate the person who's already supposed to be educated on these issues. Because I have had to do that a lot.
That is a valuable thing, because obviously, every therapist is not going to have had time to, read up on every possible disorder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's part of why I started my channel, was partial vintage and partial, I wanted people to have resources to hand over that made sense, to try to hand over to medical professionals, because the amount of misinformation out there is incredibly saddening.
Well, and I'm for, anybody putting out decent information, because it's like most of the stuff I deal with wasn't diagnosed until I was in my 30s or 40s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, I basically have depression and possibly like chronic anxiety, but I've pretty much like it does affect my life in a way that I'd like to get it corrected. But the thing is that I, with my sister, she had psych evaluations when she was a kid, and they misdiagnosed her in so many different ways. And we're getting better with diagnosing things. We're getting better at determining when things should be when we should be intervening and when we shouldn't, because there were times where um, people developed their own coping skills, and because they were developing their own coping skills, people frowned upon it. And sometimes developing your own coping skills you have to do.
Bless you.
It's the only way to get by in some situations. And then other times there are things that have been let go that never should have fallen through the cracks in the first place. Like in my sister's case, I know she has a learning disability, but we've never had any plan or any way to handle it because it was never diagnosed properly. Despite my mom trying desperately hard to get that information and try to help her as best she could. So that was one thing that my mom disagreed with the church on, actually. She did believe in going and getting him mental health outside of the church, but we were not. Oh, there goes.
He's run away
there
and
goes
answered the
doggers.
There goes the
doggy.
doggo.
Dogger. But my mom
Doggos.
actually disagreed quite a bit with the church. There are
Good.
times where I wonder how she stayed Mormon, but I honestly think it was because she was afraid that the promises she made with my dad wouldn't have been real. And
I
she
was
would have
going to
lost
say
out on
something to
that.
that effect, that it was more of
Yeah.
her commitment to your father.
Because I look back at my mom's attitude was, I'm going to do what's best for my kids, so screw what the church says. I've told the story of mom taking us to Disney instead of a church trip.
Yep.
So that's one of my favorite mom stories.
Yeah, so she had moments of rebellion.
Yeah. Yeah, she did. She told the church off quite a few times. So I should write that story down and publish it somewhere. Because I don't think it's one she would have minded me telling people. But so where'd Diana go
at the
off
very
to?
least, make a video for about it for your channel.
Diana is
I didn't
over
know
here.
I want to do a video.
Diana may have gone potty.
No, Diana's in the kitchen. She's getting more coffee.
Oh,
Hi there.
send me some.
Ah.
I can make coffee. I just don't feel like it.
I can make coffee. I just can't drink the stuff. My fiance used to tell me I made great coffee.
And I
I
can't
had
make
to
coffee
take a
at
word
all.
for it. That the one morning that I got the cup switch, he said I looked like I'd been poisoned.
Oh, no.
Just the face I made when I said that.
I didn't know how to make coffee. I kind of taught myself how to. And like a normal person would have gone on Google and been like, how do I make coffee? I was like, all right, so this looks, so I basically like filled the coffee filter to like almost 90% of the way full.
Okay.
And that's how I would make my coffee. Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was Rotar.
And one of my mom's friends was in the military, and he was also also and after he quit the military, he went into some sort of fishing. And anytime he would come to get my mom so that they could go for their medieval fun stuff, he would ask if it was okay if I made coffee that morning. And he says, "You don't have to, you don't feel pressured." And I said, "No, I'll make the coffee." And then he's like, "Great, yours is the only coffee that keeps me awake." And I'm like, "Oh shit. The sailor tells me I'm the only one keeping him awake. That's some strong ass coffee." But I can't drink coffee that's weak. If it's too weak, it's like, why am I bothering drinking this?
This is just brown water.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, I'll be right back. Elmer needs food, apparently.
Elmer needs food badly.
Oh my.
I was just thinking that.
Oh, wait a minute. Is the Ogden the Foo over here on the Boo and the Goo? What am I talking about?
And the kitty landed on the purple blanket.
Little shit. That's a Diana blanket, not a Sylvia blanket.
How does Sylvia what?
That's a Diana blanket, not a Sylvia blanket.
Yeah, you
Right, sorry
tell
about
her.
this. I need to run away. I've got to fix someone's laptop that's turned up.
I is the cat. This place is mine. I just let her stay here.
And pay the rent.
Mm-hmm.
And clean up after me.
Okay, what's that, Dave? You got to take off?
Yeah, I need to run away. Someone's just turned up with a laptop I need to fix now.
Oh my.
So I will catch you all later. It's been nice talking to you.
All right.
Okay.
Run away.
Around.
Oh, take care, sweetness.
You too. Bye-bye.
Night.
Oh.
And in his case, we can say night. Because it's toward evening.
Wow.
Like 9 p.m. there.
1632 hours here already.
Huh?
1632 hours here already.
Yeah, so add 6 or 7, depending.
Yep.
And I think
The
I have.
sunset's gotten pretty quiet. We don't have too many people left here.
And I think I've got another live stream tonight. Holy shit.
Oy vey.
Yeah. Anybody who is interested, let me find it here. There's a. I've got to find it. It's in here somewhere. I know it is. I am not finding it. It's all buried in these 9 million DM things that are going on.
Yeah, 9:30. Yep, it's 9:30 at night. Somebody brings by the computer at 9:30 at night. Really? That's rather rude.
Well, not if you had called them and scheduled it. I mean,
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was scheduled, but anywho. Well, we got to be out of here in an hour, Perp.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Is it that time of the week?
It's go retrieve my items from the fair.
Yeah. The fair is closing down today, so we've got to get over there to pick up all the stuff she entered.
Okay, then. Yeah, that is a good thing to do that.
Yep.
More Euros.
Ah, tree is back.
Yep.
What?
I said more Euros. And Suzuki.
Oh yes. Tzatziki, exactly. I want to try to get there before they close.
So if you're gonna do that, maybe we've been 3 and some hours here. Be a good idea to just kind of wrap things up.
Yeah, I think so.
All
like
right.
I said, there's not many people still with us anyway, other than Spooky. I'm not sure who else is still in the side chat.
And then we have 5 watching now, and then I
Angie
see.
was here.
Yeah.
Angie went to go watch Faye's stream.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think it's just spooky in there now.
Doorknob Head might still be around.
I don't know.
He never actually said goodbye, so I don't know.
Oh.
But yeah, it's probably time to wrap this up.
Okay, what do you guys have coming up? Anything that you haven't talked about? Purple or Trio? What you got coming up? Or Sloth Girl?
I'm gonna go ahead and shill what I'm doing again, even though I did mention
for
it
it.
earlier. But I am working on a video. A survey was sent out last month that was asking about changing the age of bishop interviews from the age of 12 to 8. And they were asking what kind of questions the bishop can ask and what age they wouldn't mind their children having these interviews. It's basically a one-on-one with the bishop and alone in an office room. And so I am doing possibly a series. It depends on how long the video is, but I'm going to be working on a video or a set of videos to discuss that and all of the problems surrounding it. And that'll be coming out at latest. I'd like it to be out the second week of next month in September. So that's what I'm currently working on.
Well, here's hoping it gets there. Yay.
Yep.
And I'd like to mention that Doc Fearsome is still taking donations for his car. If anybody has the link for his GoFundMe, they throw it up quick.
I can grab it real quick. Give me a second.
Yeah, and basically, if anybody can get that link out anywhere to some people who may not have seen it yet.
Yeah, because I think
still
we've
here.
done. Yeah, well, and we've also, I think, done as far as we can do with our own personal audiences.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Is
so
there
that
anyone-
way.
Is there
Oh,
anyone
Or
with-
was still here.
I'd like to see one of the bigger people pick it up, like Cirrus or
Well, Seth
know,
Andrews
Atlas
put that
Engineer.
out. We actually got
Yeah.
a couple donations from his promoting of it.
Yeah. So-
Has anybody talked to Doc to know where he stands with that car or any car or anything?
Not since
No.
Friday, no.
No. I'm wondering if the person will work with him and let him put a little bit more money down and keep on holding on to the car. Because I'm sure we can get him to the 3K. It just may take a while.
And the problem is time is ticking because it's going to start getting cold in Iowa in a month and a half or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But the thing
Weather's
is,
going to
like I
start
said,
changing.
we've exhausted our personal resources.
Yep.
I'm really hoping somebody else will pick it up that has a bigger audience than we do.
I was very, very happy and very grateful to see Seth Andrews' own contribution to that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I tried to send some messages out to people I've talked to, but, it's not like I'm really close friends with anyone who has a big channel.
Yeah, there's a line of separation from the smaller channels and the bigger ones that I've noticed.
Yeah, we're not the cool kids.
Yeah, not that I want to be. I just wish that line didn't exist. But that's
Right.
not how life typically works.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and for some of them, like Cirrus, I can see that he's been asking his people for money for other things, like the tree that came through his roof.
Oops.
Yeah, a lot
didn't
of
hear
people
about
are
that,
needing help right now, and that's not helping.
Yeah.
Like I've
You didn't
seen
hear
somebody.
about that, Diana?
Say again?
You didn't hear about that
No, I
with
missed
Sura?
that.
Go ahead, tell her, Purple.
Oh, yeah. Well, it wasn't the whole tree that came down, but it was like a 25-foot branch that punched a hole through their roof and
no.
literally
Oh,
came
no.
down right over their bed while they were sleeping.
Ow.
If it had
So,
gone for,
yeah.
it was like came within 10 inches of his head.
yeah, so for at least several days, Raz was unable to sleep because she was so freaked out by it.
Yeah, and doesn't Raz have like PTSD issues as
She
well?
has, yeah.
Something like that. I'm not real clear exactly what her issues are, but yeah.
I'm sure it's anxiety, but yeah.
Yeah, Source tends to try to interact more with as many people as possible, which I do appreciate. I'm just saying that there is kind of a line that does exist where
Yeah.
a lot of the larger content creators
Mhm.
won't, and I can understand to a certain degree, but they won't acknowledge some of the smaller ones sometimes, even when I think that there are times where it's appropriate to do so.
I mean, they'll give you a shout out now and then, but that's about it.
Yeah.
But we were going to close this down, so.
Alrighties.
Well, I want to
That's up
thank
to
everybody
Diana.
over in the side chat. I want to thank everybody here in the chat, and as I always say, I want to thank everybody who's here. I want to thank everyone who's not here. So thanks a lot, troops.
Yep.
See you on the other side.
Bye,
Catch you
Diana.
on the next one.